Good evening, everybody. This is the Political Theater. Thank you guys for joining us this evening. Sorry, I had a bit of technical difficulties trying to get this up. I had to reinstall my entire browser as soon as this started. Like, I clicked the button and then everything shut down. I had to restart everything. But whatever, we're here. So thank you guys for joining us this evening. This is the Political Theater with Walter Curtin Trash Discourse. Thank you guys for showing up. Make sure you guys share this link out. If you got something to say, you can always put it down below. This show is sponsored by The Wellness Company. So you guys make sure you guys check out The Wellness Company. They have lots of great products. They sell ivermectin. They've got all sorts of different emergency kits and stuff like that you can buy. And if you use code TPT at checkout, you can get 10% off your entire order, and you can always use a referral link that'll show up on the stream throughout it. So thank you guys for showing up this evening. We've got a lot to talk about. There is the Antifa apparently was infiltrated over in Portland by TPUSA front lines, which is pretty cool. So I wanted to go through some of that. We've also got the Democrats are now promising suffering. You know, the shutdown, they're promising suffering for all. These wonderful, kind people that are just loving everybody, that they're shutting the government down for, it's their only leverage point. And I'm actually using their exact words, as that was said earlier today. So we'll go through some of those clips. But overall, it seems to me that they are still losing their minds. We also have to make a correction. So yesterday, we were talking about the Trump ballroom. Now, we were explaining that the Trump ballroom in the center of it is going to have a 60-foot statue of Trump with a crown. Now, it turns out we were wrong about that, okay? I'm sorry. We need to make a correction. It is not a ballroom. I was informed by a very reliable source that it's actually a throne room. Okay, so this is the royal court of Trump is being built currently. Now, we needed to make that correction and make it very clear from the start of the show that it actually is indeed a throne room that they are creating. And the jesters are Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. They are going to be given official costumes, and the royal court will commence on, it's going to open up the same day as the 250th anniversary, and that'll also be the coronation of Trump and Queen Melania and Baron Trump, who will then rule after they pass for all of eternity. Now, I had to make sure that was clear because I know we were talking about that at the end of the day yesterday. But anyway, so we're going to keep going here, guys. Thank you guys for showing up this evening. Trash, what's happening, buddy? What do you got for us?
I mean, it has been, let's say a tasty day isn't the word, but I mean, we've got Buttigieg out here saying terrible things. We've got the candidate up in Maine clearly like not disavowing and even have his own staff quit because they knew that he knew what that symbol meant on his chest. And it's just something quite spectacular to watch. What's going on in New Jersey as well. More Democrats are breaking for Jack Ciattarelli. And obviously, Spamberger did not disappoint us today either. Neither did the legacy media talking about the Virginia race. Obviously, I was interested in as well in that TPUSA story. It's quite interesting and also hilarious, especially when they saw him filming him. It's just funny. So we'll get into that. But I just wanted to say something to get kind of get a show started. The reason I titled it "Democrats Are Melting Down" is because they are banging on about no kings, and it was not popular. They're banging on about this White House, and they're actually physically going out and just all out lying, not even like doing the whole this or that, the either or type arguments that liberals and Democrat operatives do to try to false frame things. They're just straight up lying, and they're putting up fake renders, and it's just me, I'm sorry, but none of this goes on if everybody, including the candidates and these internal numbers, look good for them. They don't know what to do. Chuck Schumer's melting down. It's not going Democrats' way with the shutdown. So I'm here for it. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we mentioned yesterday. And this is my point, really, that, they're not going to bring all these people out if they're way, way high in the polls. Like, I mean, they swear Abigail Spanberger is plus 10 in the polls. So because she's so leading, she's doing so well, Obama, Pete Buttigieg, Bill Nye, the science guy, and Andy Beshear from Kentucky, a very popular Democrat governor, are all on the ground campaigning for her. Seems legit. I mean, I don't know how else to read it. Yeah, sure. She's winning, guys. Yeah, whatever. I mean, we talked about this extensively yesterday. It is just complete nonsense. Okay, like no one buys this that you're going to have your entire top line, campaigners out there if she was winning. Now, I will say that it kind of annoys me that Winsome is out here and she doesn't have a bunch of Republican surrogates. Now, I have heard that there are some people on the ground there now. I've heard some. I know that Vivek was there. I heard that Byron Donalds was showing up at some point. So maybe we're starting to see a bit of a response to this. But generally speaking, I will say that every time Obama shows up, usually it's bad news for the Democrats. So I'm not really sure if they think it's a win for them, but they're convinced it is. But, that's definitely what a candidate who's plus 10 in the polls says. By the way, there was also a bit from MSNBC today. I don't know if you saw this earlier, Trash. This was hysterical. They come out here and they say that apparently that the reason Abigail Spanberger is struggling is because America really, struggles to vote for a woman. Now, for those who are unaware somehow, Winsome Sears is actually a woman as well. So, does someone need to call them and tell them? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, did they just not get it? Like, I have no idea if they're actually this stupid or if this is just what they think is going to pass off as, their terrible shows that nobody watches anymore. But I saw that earlier and I was like, wow, like, oh, that's intelligent.
Yeah. So, or they're already setting up. They should be looking at some data that they could possibly take a loss here, much like the Youngkin stuff back then with the data. It's very similar.
That would make sense.
But that panel was what? Mika Brzezinski, Al Sharpton, and Molly Jong Fast?
Yes.
Not exactly the brilliance of our time.
Oh, I mean, I don't know, man. Those are some brilliant people right there. Speaking of brilliant, did you guys see Matt Walsh's comment on Mehdi Hassan today, which I just thought was great? Like, he just creamed him. And by the way, I'll play just a little bit of that because that clip was actually just fantastic. It's about a 13-minute clip where he's just like, just completely decimates him. But the only thing I want to play is the little bit at the very beginning because he mentions the fish cam. So he's talking about an inanimate fish in the background of his office studio there. And he's saying that he thinks that if he just put a fish cam up on a regular basis, that he would get more views than Mehdi Hassan because Mehdi Hassan gets like less than 40,000 in the key demo every time he's on, which as we've said before, is like family and friends. I mean, just to that's nobody watches that. Okay, so but my point is that if Matt Walsh is going to mention the fact that he has a fish cam available, I expect that to be streamed whenever Mehdi Hassan's show is. Which I said morning, afternoon, evening. I have no idea when he's on. Does anybody ever watch him? I have no idea where he is or when his show is on.
I think he does. I think he's doing the same thing like a Don Lemon and all the people that basically were summarily released from their propagandist networks because they were even too extreme. I think he's doing it like he does his own podcast or whatever, and then he levies all of the network of the Democrat operatives and the like, and just shows up constantly as a guest somewhere.
Oh, well, that means that nobody watches him then. I mean, that means that the views that he's getting are probably like, what we get, which, we're like not even a year old show, which is pretty funny to me. That's pretty good. I like that though. Maybe we can, that'll be fun when we, I've already had several clips that have gotten more than 40,000 views from this show. So that means we're getting more views than Mehdi Hassan Trash. I hope that makes you happy. That makes me happy. I enjoy that.
I get warm and fuzzy from that feeling. Matter of fact, I can tell you that I'm very excited. That is for a guy that I absolutely loathe and despise, who, by the way, hates me very much, who is a guest in my country. He's more than welcome to go back and hang with Mayor Sadiq Khan. More than welcome to do it in the UK. So I wish him well and bon voyage if he hates his country so much, but I don't. I just want him out. So yeah, no, I despise him. So any dub like that, and that's fascinating, right? Because that person was propped up on legacy media. And obviously, at the time, with ratings that were coming in from the airports and people just running CNN in the background or MSNBC or whatever, what have you, they were getting all these views. But when it actually came down to merit, they all lost, and they lost miserably. And then they're still firing people over there. So, I'm here for it. And we will continue here at the TPT, the Political Theater, to beat out your favorite punching bags on the legacy media left and the Democrat operatives. We will continue dunking on them religiously. Thanks for coming back and reshare the space, please.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I have actually everything set up because, dude, I can't believe that like every time I go to set this up, I'm like, oh, all right, I've got everything ready for the show this evening. Everything's fine. Everything's ready. And then you go to click something and everything breaks. And you're like, come on. Like, I mean, just come on. Like, is it possible? Is it possible for things to work on the first attempt? No. And of course not. But that's okay. So, yes, anyway. Mehdi got wrecked by Matt Walsh, though. I mean, this entire clip was 13 minutes of just absolute brutalization of it. So I'll play a little bit of this because it is a bit long, so I don't want to play all of it. But I will play some of this here just so you can hear what I was talking about, specifically with the fish cam, because I actually really wouldn't. I expect this now. Okay, like Matt, you can't hold out on us. If you're going to say you have a fish cam, you got to deliver. Okay, like I expect a fish cam to be played every day during whenever Mehdi's show is, which nobody watches. So I don't know when it is. If it's morning, evening, afternoon, I don't know, but I expect the fish cam.
So let's take, for example, Mehdi Hasan, the former MSNBC host. Now, Hasan doesn't have an actual audience. His show is typically pulling in fewer than 40,000 viewers in the key demographic, which is much, much less than I would get if I let the inanimate fish in the background host the show. Okay, if we just had the fish cam, if the only thing we had on the show was the fish cam, we would clear 40,000 views easily. There it is. So in lieu of attracting an audience, Mehdi Hasan has attempted to spend his time attacking Americans and Christians on behalf of socialists like Zohran Mamdani. And to that end, here's Mehdi Hasan's latest argument. Listen to this.
I think that if you can play church bells, you can pray the call to prayer. We are as American as anyone else, and don't take any BS from anyone.
You're as American as anyone else? Really, Mehdi? Really, Mr. Hasan, you're as American as anyone? You're a Muslim who was born in the UK, came to this country less than 10 years ago in your mid-30s to work for Al Jazeera. Okay, is there anyone who seriously thinks that Mehdi Hasan is American at all, much less as American as anyone else? It's even harder to buy the idea that Mehdi Hasan is an American if you actually listen to the things that he says, which no one does. So let's review. Before he got his MSNBC
which no one does.
Yeah, which no one does. So I don't want to play the whole thing. I just liked the fish cam bit. Like, I mean, he just destroys him. I mean, Mehdi is completely useless anyway. He's always been a terrible hack anyway. But I just enjoy just the because we've mentioned this before. We were talking about this when it came to Kimmel. Kimmel's got a $40 million show, and he only gets like 128,000 people or whatever it is, to watch his show in the key demo. And we were just saying that, that's not that's nothing. Okay, like 128,000 in the key demo for a $40 million show is like you can't be making money on that. You have to be losing money. Now, Mehdi's, if he's doing what Don Lemon's doing or Don Lemon is doing with the podcast stuff, I guess you can do that for reasonably cheap now. I mean, I don't know. I don't watch any of these people. Does anybody watch any of these people? Wasn't there a video of Don Lemon recently where he got like 108 views or something? Like, wasn't that like a thing recently? Didn't that just happen?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Called that out. It was like a couple weeks ago, and I caught it. I happened to catch it at the right time when he had fired it up and he had put it over on X, and it was live. It said 108.
Yeah, I mean, so like I heard that and I was like, what? Really? Like, this guy's like you would think he's like somewhat well known at some point, but like just for reference here, like the live on this show has already got over 500, so we've already tripled what Dom Lemon had, and we've only been live for 10 minutes. So it just like it was just like this stuff is just hysterical to me. Like, and this goes back to what we talked about many times about like the AstroTurf problem. Like, it's like when you AstroTurf your audience so badly, when the audience wakes up, they just leave. Like, I mean, when you don't have like when everything else isn't censored out of everyone else's view, no one watches. Like, I mean, no one has any interest in that stuff.
Yeah, no, not at all. And I'm here for it, but it's just truly unbelievable how what did Larry say? I was driving home, I was listening to Larry O'Connor. He was talking about how baked in the cake, politics are for Democrats, but how really baked in the cake, not only legacy media, social media, which you guys can all see it right now. I mean, I know people are complaining about the algorithm, but you can see it. It's completely astroturfed. I don't know if somebody inside X is doing it. I don't know if they have access to one of the remaining APIs and they have just spun up all kinds of networks and external engagement groups and these community lists with 150,000 fake accounts in it that just go out and react to every post, and it's one admin. I mean, I've exposed several of these networks, and I don't know which is what, where is what, and what is contributing to it. But it's clear. It's so baked in the cake, right? I'm not doing a conservative whining. I'm not getting reach on social media. That's clear. And I typically just chalked it up to the topics I used to talk about quite a bit when it came to the influence ops and the censorship regime and all these government, NGOs that were paying X amount of dollars. And we traced the money. We showed you on a mind map. We showed you all the connections. It's been out there for a long time. The color revolutionaries, the people who have staffs of nothing but engagement groups that artificially lift up messages. We also know that Google was doing it. YouTube was doing it.
Oh,
Facebook was definitely doing it. You
speaking
know
of,
what I mean?
yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
Speaking of Google, we have to talk about the story today.
Oh, we definitely have to talk about Robbie
Yeah,
Starbuck.
we have to
Oh,
talk about Robbie.
1000%.
Yeah, we have to talk about Robbie
1000.
Starbuck because this was a crazy story here today.
That's nuts.
It is a insane story. And now, what the one thing I kind of quibble with him on here is, normally when people talk about AI stuff, they actually don't know what they're talking about. But I do know Robbie does know what he's talking about. So the one thing I'd like to know how he prompted it to get to what he got. Okay, because if you just go in there and like randomly type in his name, I highly doubt that that's how that showed up. But that doesn't mean that you can't, fill it with information first, and it still creates that. That's still a huge problem. Like, I mean,
No,
it doesn't matter how it does
So
it.
it didn't. So I dug into it a little bit. Let me talk about that for a second. So
All
here's
right.
what you have to do in order to go prompt it, to find it yourself. You would put in ROBBY, right? Or you know what I mean? That's what you would put in. It already has the guardrails and the blocks to not accept Robbie Starbuck. But he did say in one of the comments to the replies, because I was reading it thoroughly, he was responding to everybody. He said, if you go put in ROBBIE, which he's never gone by, if you go in and put ROBBIE, it picks it up. And that's how he was able to draw out a lot of that stuff.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the question really becomes though is like, so if you just ask it about Robbie Starbuck, like just like that, it'll just.
Well, I don't know. And how much of it is a hallucination upon a hallucination? That's why I'm paying attention to this case. Because knowing about AI and LLM.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the deal to me is like how much of it's hallucination and how much of it. The one thing I do think is very interesting is when he actually got it to say stuff along the lines of, I am going against my own programming, that type of stuff. Like that's very interesting to get an AI to ever even be able to say that. And I mess with these things a lot. Like, I mean, I play with AIs all the time. I've never managed to get it to say something along those lines, and further saying something along the lines of, I am breaking my own programming to tell you this, tell the public. That's ridiculous that he managed to get that thing to say that. I mean,
So here's also what I'll say upon tacitly digging to it. Obviously I shared it out this morning. I sent it to you this morning. I'm like, dude, you need to look at this. I even looking at it and digging in a little bit deeper, I am seeing members of intelligence committees out of the House and Senate kind of come to this. It seems to me like this has been brewing for a long time. Apparently, he's been sending several cease and desists, and this was, I believe, some of it was pre all that meeting in the White House or whatever in Capitol Hill, with all of the tech people and AI and all those things. And they've been quietly kind of like working with him a little bit. He hasn't come out and said that they're absolutely malicious. I think what his claim is that you're not listening to me, and you better, because your systems are doing this, and I can sue you for that. And it seems to me that the ducks are in the row on this one. But man, we can have a whole space on this case, and I got to be honest with you, it's probably gonna be a perennial topic in this space, man, on this show, because there's a lot of information to go in on there. You can't just like touch it tacitly. I mean, my God, he had to put a 30-minute promo video out just to explain it.
Yeah, just the 30 minutes of him explaining it. But the real thing that really stood out to me was that it created links. So it actually create fake links. Now, I have used AI enough to see
fake articles.
Fake links to fake articles that didn't exist. But the deal is that I've actually had AI, send me to fake links and fake articles all the time, and that's why when you have to be very careful. To me, AI is great. You can use it for all sorts of amazing things. You can quickly do editing. You can quickly write something up. You can do all sorts of stuff with it. I mean, it's fantastic. But if you use it to create research or to actually look into something, it still has a problem with it where it might just randomly, send you completely nothing, and then you get stuck in a rabbit hole. And I've actually seen people that they believe the AI so much that they will spend hours upon hours going to see what exactly it is that it's talking about, and then it's just completely meaningless. It's just completely meaningless. It didn't do anything at all. Didn't mean anything at all. But that's what happens when you get really sucked into these things, apparently. But I do want to know what his prompting was, just to be able to get to some of this stuff, because that's not easy to do. Like, he has to have said something specific in some way to get there. But I'm curious how he did it.
Well, not only that, but it wasn't a singular LLM,
Right?
This is of several systems specifically named, and how these specific systems worked either in tandem or separately to get to these results that created these fake hit pieces and like all this kind of like really like terrible shit about not just him, but many other people. There's many other people named in this. And it's crazy to me because when you build that kind of infrastructure with that many different products and it's producing this whole like fake misinformation, like misinformation doesn't even describe it, but like this whole an alternate reality. And those products are packaged and sold to what? Banking professionals, people on Wall Street, massive HR companies. Like they're going to rely on these products for like what, background checks or financial ability for someone's to pay, and all this stuff's going to come up. Or what if you have specific criteria where you can't obtain a loan, or you can't have banking, or you can't do anything? Are these massive Fortune 500 companies going to be buying up these products because that's what they're making it for? They're not making it because out of the goodness of their heart they want to make money, and they've invested billions into making this technology. What do you think they're going to do when they package this up and sell it? I have genuine concerns about this.
Well, and that's the big deal to me is that, the problem I have with a lot of this stuff is that, that you don't know what they're doing to create these problems in the first place. Now, if what he alleges is true, what the argument would be is that they actually intentionally put in data into a bad data set that had defamatory material, essentially. Now, I don't know if that's true. But that would be something that they could prove, actually. Like, they could actually go find that and figure out who did that, who put that kind of data set in there to be able to find that information. I think you could actually prove that. Now, the real question becomes, how much of this is a direct result of the Google engineers being ridiculous leftists, which is, my guess is probably pretty high. Yeah, I'm not gonna joke. I think that's probably pretty high. Most of the Silicon Valley people are like this. I mean, it's not necessarily a new thing. It's these people have been acting like this for a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if most of this stuff is actually caused by, radical leftist engineers. Like, I mean, if that's probably the case, that they've stuck stuff into the data sets. I mean, everybody, if you use these things on a regular basis, I don't know, what was it, a year or two ago, you watched all of them just get more and more woke. Like, I mean, they were great when they first started. You started using them. They got even better and better and better. And then suddenly, they just started going ultra woke. Like, I mean, you ask it any question and it talks about how women are important in every single aspect. Like, it's, you ask it, tell me the greatest story from America, from history. Tell me the greatest story. And it tells you about some, non-binary queer woman named Janiqua. It's like, okay, but that's not a historical great story in any way. No one's ever heard of this, but that's the kind of stuff it would do. I mean, everyone remembers the Google Gemini problem when you'd ask it to make you an image of a founding father, and they were all black, which was just hilarious, like insane. You remember when the Google engineers, like, they talked about that, and they were like, it appears to be a fundamental problem. It's not something that we can fix easily. It's like, oh, that's good. Like, that sounds promising, but it got so bad. I mean, Cloud was the Anthropic one, and they released their big model at one point during this, and it was called Constitutional AI. Now, it was so bad and so useless. What I would do with it, the only thing I used it for, is I would write an article, and then I would put it in there, and if it was really mad about my article, then I knew it was a perfectly written article. Like, if it was some, op-ed piece that I was going to pitch to town hall or something like that, I would just stick it in there, and it would be like, well, you just misplaced all these problems. You completely ignored these perfectly good communities, and you're just bad and mean for thinking that. And I'm like, perfect. Flawless article. That means that Anthropic doesn't like it. That means it's a great article. That's all I used it for. And I stopped using all those things because what's the purpose of having something that tries to insert your opinion into it? OpenAI, regardless of what people think about it, their model is actually pretty solid. I don't normally have many problems with it. You still have to go through and make sure that they don't like randomly insert stupid things into your writing if you're using it for anything. But outside of that, they're pretty good now. Grok is getting a lot better. I like using Grok a lot. And now the one problem I have with Grok is that the model changes so often that it's very difficult to get to get similar responses. I just want, like, the one thing I like about Grok more than any of the other ones is the quick usage of it. I can just literally have it over there, put in a quick query, and I have it set to like hyper concise, and I can get a really, really fast response. But a lot of the times, I mean, I got Grok to tell me it was a communist a couple days ago, which I thought was pretty damn funny. I was arguing with it about something, and it was like, no, I'm a communist. And I said, stop being a communist. And it said, no. I'm like, oh, shit. I'm like, okay, I guess you're communist, Grok. But Anyway, I like messing with these things. But this stuff with Robbie Starbuck, this kind of stuff is the kind of stuff we need to fix, because they will be able to create, at some point, and I think Robbie actually mentioned it in his bit on this, when he was saying that at some point they'll be able to create full articles. Like, they're not going to just be able to create the links. They'll be able to create hyper-realistic full articles with names and addresses and everything for these people at some point. So if the AI itself was doing that and creating that, that needs to be fixed. That needs to be fixed immediately. And, the weird thing is that Google, and I know Robbie had done, he did an article, he did a similar case against Meta, and Meta lost, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't that happen? Didn't he already beat Meta in court for almost the exact same thing? Wasn't it last year?
Well, I mean, it wasn't as egregious as this one is, but yeah, 1,000%.
Well, I think it was on January 6th stuff. I think that Meta was claiming he was part of. I'd have to go look into it. It's been a while since that happened.
Yeah, it wasn't nearly as egregious as this, as far-reaching. But also, I want to remind people of this. By the way, I just went and searched. I was trying to find a thread that Zach Voorhees had put out a couple of years ago. I've had him in many spaces. He was the Google whistleblower that was warning about all this. By the way, as I've gotten to know him, he seems to be nothing more than a tech bro, disaffected liberal. He's not a conservative by any stretch. But he was the Google whistleblower on a lot of this stuff early on. And this is what he was screaming about, was they poisoned the data sets by poisoning the search algorithms and it pulling back information and then feeding it into these data sets. He was warning about this. This is what Zach Voorhees was warning about. And it was all going one direction. And so so you guys won't be able to find him by Zach Voorhees, which is ZachVorhies. But if you go to @PerpetualManiac, you can find it. Just search Google. He'll have plenty of stuff out there. He was warning about this years ago. And now I think we're starting to see it. I'd actually be interested to get his take on this.
And that would be pretty interesting to see. I mean, the problem that we have here is that, again, the problem with the leftists that are running these. Okay, so my younger brother is actually an AI engineer in Silicon Valley, and he's told me that one of the biggest problems is that almost all of the people who create the data sets are all the same people, because there's not that many people that know how to do this. So the people who are creating the data sets themselves all have one same ideology. That's why they're all very, very similar in the way that they come out. That's why all the models are, they lean pretty heavily left. Now, Grok, on the other hand, what Elon's trying to do, as far as I can tell, what Elon is attempting to do with Grok, he's actually attempting to make it, have, I think they called it, what did he call it? Fundamental principles. So, essentially there are laws within logic that you cannot violate. And if you did, then it would be a problem. Now, let's see here. What does it say? If Grok is a communist, how long before it puts half of the internet up against the wall? No.
They also called it ethical guardrails. I was yelling about this 2-3 years ago about ethical guardrails. Who determines what the ethics of the guardrails are? And this is something that almost crushed ChatGPT and OpenAI before they even got off the ground, because their guardrails were so out of whack. Yep. And then people were hacking the guardrails, and then it was putting out the most ridiculous stuff. It almost destroyed them before they got off the ground. But that's since been culled a little bit. But I mean, we were talking about stories 2-3 years ago about this man in Belgium who was in a relationship with this large language model, and she basically convinced him, because the world's coming to an end because of climate change, that they could be together in a digital world if he killed himself, and he did. And so this was bringing up all kinds of conversations around ethical guardrails and the philosophy of where we're going to go with large language models and how people interact with them. And I'm not shocked that we're here, but I can tell you guys listening, if I'm taken aback by what I'm looking at, I would be concerned.
Yeah, I mean, it is very concerning. The way that the amount of information that Robbie Starbuck was showing, that it actually, directly called him, a child predator and all sorts of other crazy stuff, and then it would put, links and everything else. And his argument in it is actually the most important part of it, though. It's that, if it was you, just a random person, and you don't know that this is happening, okay, and a random person, you're trying to get a job somewhere, and you look it up, and it turns out you're a reasonably active conservative influencer, blah, 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 whatever it is, and then you go apply for a job, and then you look it up via Google, and Google says, well, this guy's terrible. You're like, oh, well, that's awful. This guy's he's in jail, he's got prison problems, he's been prosecuted a whole bunch of times for very, very horrific crimes. Yeah, that's not good. You can't have that happen. So I'm glad that Robbie went after him, and of course, the moment that they did, that he actually released it publicly, Google then, took his name out of it and made sure that because I actually played with it earlier after I watched it. I tried to go see if I could get it to do something. It wasn't working. So they were obviously paying very close attention to this. But the other problem is that Google's a massive trillion-dollar company. And Google DeepMind is essentially the top AI research firm in the world, anywhere. So if they don't fix this problem, they really need to. Otherwise, I think that, Robbie's going to sue the hell out of them. But the thing is that I know that Robbie, what he really wants is he wants them to actually just fix it. Because I think he ended up becoming, working on the bias team for the AI model for Meta, if I'm not mistaken.
At Meta, I believe. Yeah, that was correct.
I'll have to go look into that. I remember that.
Well, that was part of it. He basically said, I think he ended the lawsuit, and people were like, why? Why would you do that? Oh, you're captured. And I remember reading, he was like, no, look, I just wanted it fixed. And now, not only are they going to fix it, but they're bringing me onto the team to actually figure out where the bias is and how to resolve that. That is specifically correct. I remember that exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute since that happened, so I will have to go back and read exactly how that ended up working out. But the fact that Google, if he gave them as many chances as he did, I don't know why they would, why they wouldn't, why they were acting like that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Then again, it's not very surprising to me because Google is also one of those companies that they're just I don't know if you guys realize how much money Google spends just on acquisitions of small companies so that no one challenges them in any technology. It's they buy a company a week. It's absurd. So I don't know. We'll see where this lawsuit goes, but I'm definitely following pretty closely. You guys should all go check out Robbie's page. He's got it. I assume he probably has that one pinned, right? I mean, I can't imagine he doesn't. But that's just a crazy story that happened today. So that's definitely worth checking out. Robbie Starbucks suing Google. Make sure you go look at it. Make sure you go watch it and actually understand it because it does matter. It is very important. And this is one of the many, many, many reasons that it's very important that the people that are building AI are not all insane radical leftists because that is a huge problem if they are.
Yeah, it's an important story. I think one of the things that we'll do here, Walt. You know how I like to chase court cases a lot, especially when it comes to tech. Censorship, all the other stuff that we've worked on in the past. You know how I like to chase cases, so I probably will chase this case and report on it quite a bit. I'm sure Robbie will do just fine doing it himself. But it's something that I'm personally interested in, and I think that people would like to have some bite-sized pieces, breakdowns, like we normally do with court cases like this. Versus just what's popular for clicks and whatever. And I'm not accusing them of doing things just for clicks. I'm simply saying there's a method to the madness, and not everyone can kind of get granular on it. And I think it's going to be a case that I definitely want to report on quite a bit. I'll be following it, and so stay tuned, guys.
Yeah, I'll definitely make sure I follow up on this one. Now, let's move on to a little bit of some other topics here. So before we do that, though, I need to make sure everyone sees this image here. So it turns out I've now also been sent by a follower here. This is an updated image of what the throne room was going to look like at the White House. Now, if you see here, they've decided instead of just a throne room, we're just going to add a Trump Tower onto the East Wing, and it's going to be all gold. It's going to be 60 stories right next to the White House, and it's got Trump on the top of it. I think this is a brilliant idea. I think this is, I don't see any problem with this. As long as the throne sits in the center of it at the top, so that way you can see it from all angles from miles away.
Yeah, we'll do a throne room with a rotating restaurant. Right?
Oh, there we go. We need the rotating restaurant. Yeah, you got to have that up there.
With all the crown jewels and all of the American crown jewels and all the American previous kings and crowns and everything. Oh, wait, there's no such thing. But we'll mix them up. We'll have a rotating restaurant. Maybe we'll have some fish tanks up there. Maybe we'll have some good food, and maybe we'll get Chef Gruel to be the head chef of the restaurant up there at the rotating restaurant on top of the gold tower. But I'd like to point out to people, if you guys don't believe us, take our word for it. Go back and listen to yesterday's episode. I'm pretty sure they stole our idea, because I'm pretty sure I said exactly that we want a very tall Trump Tower to replace that part of the White House lawn.
Well, it was sent to me by a follower, so it's very possible that they made it because of what we said. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to the spatial engineers who came up with this. Very good job.
Well, I also have to shout out the guy who came up with the idea of it being a throne room. So this is Magatron, which is at JPGN69 or _69. Magatron is the one that came up with it. He said, "We got it all wrong. It's not a ballroom. It's a throne room." Brilliant. I love it. And I had to get that deadpan at the beginning of the show because, it's very important that everyone is aware that I mean, we said everyone has to kneel when you enter the ballroom, but if it's a throne room, that's just obvious. I mean, that's just you're supposed to do that when you enter a throne room. So,
I have a suggestion, actually. I have a suggestion, Walt.
what's
So
that?
you've ever seen the movie Rudy about, Sean Astin, Notre Dame football team? He was a little short guy, but he got to play one down in Notre Dame and
Yeah.
got a sack. Yeah, Rudy. Well, they also showed how the Fighting Irish, every time they go onto the field from the locker room, they slap that sign. And I suggested yesterday that we do actually put a bronze or gold plaque that say we voted for this as you enter the throne room. So I'm going to add to that, and I'm going to suggest that if you go into that throne room, I don't care if it's a black tie to the nines. We're talking billionaire donors having some dinner at the White House in the brand new throne room ballroom. You still have to slap a sign. We voted for this.
I like it. I like that. I mean, just this image is just so perfect here. I mean, I just think this is the great Trump Tower that'll just tower over top of the White House for all of Barron's reign throughout history. I think that's perfect.
I think it's chef's kiss, my friend.
They are so mad about the White House being, they're just, oh my goodness, the renovations are just the end of days. Meanwhile, of course, they are, someone just sent something in here. There's a link. If you have a link, you can always put it down underneath the show, and then I'll be able to see it, because I can't really click on it while you guys have it actually in the like actual physical chat here. But if you tag it underneath the actual link of the video, then I'll be able to see what you're talking about there. But outside of that, though, so the Democrats are now telling everybody that we are supposed to suffer, and that they know that we're going to suffer because of the government shutdown, and that they're just okay with it because that's the only leverage they have left, is making sure that Americans suffer. So I hope everyone is aware that these are the people that are ruling, that are keeping the government shut down. I think I have this clip somewhere in here.
Well, I mean, she's a minority whip, right? Like Clark is not just like some random politician. Like, it's crazy what she said.
Exactly.
Like, she's the one that's supposed to whip up votes, right? So, like, and as the minority whip, like, she's supposed to go around and like either hold the coalition together or whip up the votes that they need, or basically go back to like Chuckles and everybody else and say, all right, look, here's the deal. I picked up a couple more votes. I think we can get to 60. Here's the things that they promised us on the outside of voting for the CR. Instead, she doubles down and says this crazy stuff. That's wild.
Yeah, so here's what we're talking about, by the way, guys. So I'll play this here.
Shutdowns are terrible, and of course there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously, but it is one of the few leveraged times we have. I mean, shutdowns are terrible.
So there you go. Shutdowns are terrible. We know this, but it's the only leverage we have, is making sure that your lives as Americans are more difficult, so that we can pressure the president, because we have to give all of your money to illegal aliens and make sure that everybody. But by the way, this is something I love. Okay, I just want to put this out into the ether, because I laughed super hard when I saw this. There was somebody that posted something, and they were like, this guy whose ACA plan, Affordable Care Act plan, for Medicare, for health insurance, was costing him $68 a month. And with his new insurance plan, it's going to cost him almost $400 a month because of the subsidies. And I was laughing like, that's cheap. Like, what? Like, that's, how much it is right now for health insurance? Like $400. Like, you do realize that, like, any health insurance that you get now, even as a single man with no health problems in your 30s, is like $500 a month with a $4,000 deductible. So you were getting $60 health care? What the hell? Like, I want that. That sounds amazing. How did you get that? That's apparently Affordable Care Act. Like, what? How did you? I've never heard of that. $60 health care? That hasn't existed in decades. I mean, when's the last time you heard about that? I've never heard of anyone having health care that cheap.
I can tell you, I was like 15 working at a CD store while I was still in high school. That's about what the benefits would have been should I have been a full-time employee. $60 compared to what I spend for single. I don't have children. I don't have a significant other. I pay for my own single care through my work, by the way. And it is at least quadruple that. I'd have to look at it again. My guess is somewhere around $400 or $500 a month.
Yeah, and your probably your company covers part of it too. That's the other part of it. Like, yeah, like the health insurance premiums are so astronomically high. Like, I mean, I sit on the board of my family's company, okay? So, and I've watched the health insurance premiums for the past, I don't know, how long have I been on the board now? 12 years, I think now. So I've watched them go up astronomically, like 1,200% at a bare minimum. Okay, in just the time that I've been on, I've been a part of it. Okay, like it is an absurd number. It is an absurd number how high the health insurance premiums are, and because if you want to even have employees and you want to compete, you have to provide it. Otherwise, some big company that can provide it will just eat it up, and they get better rates because they have more employees. So the biggest players have been the biggest people that are hurt by the fact that the health insurance premiums are so high, regardless of what the Democrats scream about, is actually small businesses. Small businesses cannot afford to really be able to pay for this stuff for their employees, but they're forced to if they even want to have employees in the first place. I mean, the Affordable Care Act is one of the most disastrous things that has ever happened to this country. I mean, it is the most useless plan. It used to be, and I was talking about this with, my father and a couple other people about how much it used to cost. Okay, so apparently in the early 90s, it used to cost $25 a month for you to have health insurance as a single male with no health problems in your 30s and 40s and whatnot. Okay, $25 a month. Now it's like $600 a month. I mean, it's an astronomical number. I mean, and of course, my favorite part about it is the deductibles are always so high. So it's like you don't actually have insurance. It's the only reason you have it is in case you're hit by a bus and you actually need to go into like multiple different surgeries. That's the only reason you have health insurance nowadays. I mean, it's completely pointless. I mean, everything else you have to pay out of pocket for. I mean, all of your drugs and everything that comes at, like any prescriptions you get, sure, maybe that's covered partially by it. But if there's a generic version, you can get it through RX, whatever the hell that thing is called, RX scripts or something like that. Those are usually cheaper.
So when I was in the hospital for an extended amount of time, back, you remember this, January this year, January, February. Never mind the astronomical bill that I have and all the different specialists that saw me and all the things. And I actually, with all the medications that I was put on, temporarily, like 30, 60 days, I think there was only one that was permanent. Thankfully, I had a great pharmacist, and she was like, "Hey, don't tell me you have insurance." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't have insurance." She's like, "Great. Okay, it's going to be $27." I said, just out of curiosity, these 7 prescriptions that I was put on for a 30 or 60-day time frame, how much would that have cost me? She said, I don't know, $357. I'm like, with insurance? She said, yeah. I'm like, this is unsustainable.
It is. It's complete nonsense. I mean, it's like, my favorite is like when you happen to be like out of your network or whatever it was. So like a few years ago, back when I had a nerve damage in my leg. For those who don't know the story, about 5 years ago, I was stabbed. And I had a bunch of nerve problems in my leg, and I had a whole bunch of health problems as a result of it. Anyway, but at one point I was out of state, and I was trying to go to the hospital because I was having such bad pain in my leg that I could barely move. And I was like, and I went to the hospital, and they're like, "Well, you're not in our network." And I was like, "Well, what does that mean?" They're like, "Well, that means that you have to pay an extra amount, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Look, whatever it is, I'll just pay cash. Okay, I'll just pay cash." She said, we don't take cash. I said, "What?" She's like, "Well, we don't take cash." And I was like, can I pay with a card? She's like, "No, we don't take payments." I was like, "Huh? What do you mean you don't take?" She's like, "No, we'll send you a bill after we've figured out how much it'll cost." I was like, "So you don't even know how much this ER visit cost me currently?" And they were like, "No, we don't have any clue." Like, what the? It's a completely broken system. It's so stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's way overpriced. And the fact that there's some people out here complaining because their $60 healthcare is gone, like, welcome to the rest of us. Like, I mean, I have no idea what world you've living in. $60 a month? I'm like, I would be running for that. Of course. And okay, so I guess I have to back it up. I'd be mad too if I was losing my $60 health insurance. I'd be furious, actually. I mean, the $60, like, oh my goodness, man, that's a deal right there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't have like a Cadillac policy, but I've got a damn good policy, and I pay for it on purpose. That way, I'm not out of network anywhere. I'm never going to have a hiccup, right? It's just, it still is not really satisfactory. And it's because of the pools, and we know how it works. But ACA has destroyed all of this. Prior to ACA, I had a good job with good benefits. I maybe spent $100 a month, and I had no out of network. I had low deductibles. I didn't have to worry about a damn thing. A lot of copays were free. Preventative stuff was free. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was included, right? And I paid those benefits, and I was willing to pay. They're like, "Okay, do you want a PPO? Do you want an HMO? Like, what do you want?" And so I would pay for the better coverages constantly, because the last thing I wanted to do was have any kind of hiccups. But now it's hiccups and cost. It's both, and it doesn't really matter what happens. And that's because of the ACA. Period.
Well,
Period.
look, you can see if you like somebody. There's a guy that I follow. I think it's like he's like a data account on X. Okay, and you go to his page and he shows that it's one of his things that he put up was it's the price of healthcare in the country since the Affordable Care Act was passed, and it's a straight vertical line going up. I mean, it's so astronomically expensive compared to what it used to be because they made it so convoluted and essentially balkanized. I mean, it's there's a monopoly in each area, so each area has like their own set monopoly within it instead of letting it be competition across the entire country. I mean, it's a completely broken system, and the real reason they did all this is that the intention was to move us towards a single payer system. That is the only reason Obama wanted the Affordable Care Act. They wanted it towards a single payer system, which
Of course.
yeah, that's all they want, which in single payer system, if they're not familiar with that term means, that's essentially what the UK has. It's government funded healthcare, which is a disaster, which results in, essentially the government decides who gets to see the health insurance and you get to, they have courts and, they have their advisory boards and all this stuff. Like, yeah, no thanks.
The one thing, listen, there's only one thing that I could think of in a single payer healthcare system. Well, first of all, this is why I talk about made in Canada. That is the natural conclusion that, okay, well, this is too expensive. People have to die, right? But the only one net benefit that I've ever seen, and it's in recent memory, of a single payer healthcare system was the UK. It was like one of the first countries, plural, that said, yeah, no, we're not doing this child trans thing. No, no, we're not doing the gender affirming care shit over here. Because because they were like, we really can't afford this. It had nothing to do with saving the children. And like I know they tried to act like it did, but it was simply the costs were insurmountable in a single payer healthcare system to do gender affirming care. And so they were the first ones to be like, nah, we're not doing this trans shit on kids. We're not doing the gender affirming care on kids. We're not doing it. We're not going to pay for it. And so here's an actual real study of data that parents and everyone should have had years ago. And this justifies why we're pulling out of this and we're not doing this here in the UK. That's the only thing that came out of this.
Yep. Well, I just put this image up on the screen here. So apparently Speaker Johnson took that clip of the suffering and he just has it sitting on his TV screen. Like, I like that Speaker Johnson has been doing this, by the way. It's just hysterical. So he's just got the clip.
Good lately.
Yeah, he's been pretty hilarious about this. So he just has the clip of the suffering.
I thought you were going to play the clip.
Well, it doesn't play. It's just a still image, but it's just a still image. But the giant TV screen is just sitting there playing the clip that we were just playing before. So I love that Speaker Johnson's been doing this. He had the Hakeem Jeffries El Jefe. He had the El Jefe video up playing on this TV screen. I like that they have just started rolling this thing out. I think it's great.
Speaking of, I actually have something for you that I think that people should see. Apparently, Cory Booker is tired of being confused with Team Obama. He's not the same people. They are not the same. And I think that we should definitely play this for our loyal audience to see there's some confusion between a senator and a House of Representatives minority leader in that Hakeem Jeffries and Cory Booker are not the same people. And Cory is big mad on the floor.
Okay, let's see what he's got to say here.
This is not funny anymore. People stop me in the street. They say, "Where's your sombrero, senor?" For the last time, I am not Hakeem Jeffries, you guys. So stop asking me for my friggin' sombrero. This shit ain't even funny.
Oh my God, I love it. Yes, dude. That's brilliant. That is brilliant. I love this stuff, dude. That is so funny. Great stuff. Great stuff. The Democrats are just in a full-on tailspin about this stuff, dude. They can't figure out that their messaging is not working. Okay, it's just not working at all. No one cares. And I don't know. I mean, you guys could tell us in the chat. Do you think that in any way that it is improving? Like, have they made any great strides in their messaging recently? Like, has anybody seen anything that tells you that they're that they're actually doing well? I don't think so.
I actually see sheer panic from people like Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. Hey, actually, on a serious note, I mean, I know as we're having jokes and deadpan is the humor du jour for our spaces and show. I came across this clip today, and it came out about 12 hours ago, and it's this guy who you would think would be the most raging liberal out of New York City possible, right? He's got the jacket, which is kind of, I mean, it's a little bit more upclass, but it's essentially reminiscent of the punk era. We know that he was probably in Greenwich and he was probably part of like the artsy crowd and disaffected liberal. But listen to what he has to say. I mean, he's definitely saying that he's part of the conservative movement now. But I need everyone to watch this. If you're just listening to this, go back and play the playback of the video. Go on the political theater or go into Walt's page, and you'll see this. This is actually a really important clip that I think that I really just want to scream this with a video and a speaker on loudspeaker for people who may still be like disaffected liberals or maybe moderates that are saying, no, I'm still a liberal. I'm teaming up with these No Kings people. Play this clip. This is not made up. And I'm sure maybe if I reached out to Brennan, I'd find out that this guy's probably part of Walkaway. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me because I'm sorry, you don't get to wear a denim jacket with your scarf and your lib glasses and your blue hair and like your punk pins and like you being a disaffected liberal that's in the conservative movement now and his comments about the No Kings protest. This is very relevant to what we're talking about right now, Walt. I think everyone should see this.
All right, I'll go ahead and play this here. I've got already pulled up. So
they're saying they're protesting kings, but they're the ones trying to overturn the will of the voters. Think about that. It kept happening over and over. Security guard of our building, one neighbor walking a dog. And I was just like, why would people want to go to that? The protesters call Trump authoritarian, but he's the one implementing the policies he was elected on. That's not tyranny. That's representative government. I get that you might not like what his agenda is, but it is literally what he ran on. And he won the popular vote. I think to try and remove that leader, that's the anti-democratic move. And I just support the president. I'm not saying I'm anti-protest ever, but it was very groupthinky. I didn't like the energy out there. So many people kept asking me, hey, did you go to the rally earlier? No. I realized that here in New York City, my opinion is unpopular. It was the cool thing to do here in my neighborhood, Chelsea. But I guess I'm a dork. They've convinced themselves they're standing up to power, when in reality, they're trying to undo a democratic process they just don't like the outcome of. Even if he's not for every policy that I would be for domestically, he's for sure every policy that I'm for foreign policy-wise. And I just feel that he's making the world safer with what he's doing in the Middle East and domestically. I don't support mobs of left-wing people trying to say that Western civilization is bad and that our way of life is bad. I think our way of life is good. It's always shocking to me that I really align now with the conservative viewpoint, but it's like, I do. The transition is complete. So when people ask me, why didn't you go? I just skip the debate, because how do you explain that demanding the removal of an elected leader isn't the defense of democracy? It's the opposite. I don't want to get into it with them. I just kept it to myself.
Well, and that's that is pretty relevant. And this is kind of the point that we've made many times here, that it's like, you know, they keep screaming no kings, no kings, no kings. But yeah, we just won the popular vote. This is what we voted for. I mean, what's the tagline we always say? I voted for that. I voted for this. Yes, I did actually. You know, I love it. There's every now and then you see one of the leftists like, did they post some ridiculous image of like ICE arresting somebody or something? Did you vote for that? Yes, actually, 100%. Actually, that is exactly what I voted for. Like, I did vote for that specifically, that right there. Yes. Okay, so I don't know what you're thinking, that like somehow we didn't vote for this stuff. But yeah, no, I know you don't get it and you don't like it, but yeah, no, we definitely did vote for that. Okay, so like it is interesting to see some of these people out here that are starting to pick up on this, that, you know, maybe the people screaming that they hate America is not a great look and that they're not for that, and maybe they do actually like their country. You know, regardless of what the left has tried to do for the past, 10 years now, is that Americans, generally speaking, still like their country. We still like America. We still like Western civilization. We still live in the greatest country in the world. We still know that. We still believe that. And no matter how much they scream, we are still pretty happy with what's going on here. I mean, if my grandfather, he worked for the WHO, and he traveled all over the world and worked in many, many different countries trying to build things and, set things up for other countries. And his comment to me was always the same is that, if the people that don't like America, that scream about it, go to another country and see if it's better, because it's not. Okay. America has its problems, but at the end of the day, we are still the greatest and best country in the world. And it is obvious to anybody that actually shows up here.
Well, and Walt, to that point, you know me. I mean, you and I have been friends for quite some time now. I mean, how many countries have I been to just in the last 3 years? I would say probably upwards of 15 to 20 different countries, of all types, whether it was China or Turkey or France or Netherlands or UK or base Poland or Belgium, Luxembourg. I mean, I've been to many of these countries. Germany, for God's sake, Germany, my God. Um, Although Germany's not as gone as I think people want you to believe that it is. However, cities like Frankfurt and Berlin, things like that. Yeah, that's problematic. But there's other places too. Um, with that being said, I loved my experiences in these countries. Japan, where else did I go? It doesn't matter. UAE, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. I've been to many of these places, and look, I had a great time. I was an American businessman, right? That was going there to do trade shows or businesses or conventions or whatever it may be. I was treated with the utmost respect and hospitality in every country I went to. Shy of, well, maybe I'll leave that one alone for now, but shy of northern eastern China, it's not good. They don't like Americans. But at the end of the day, I was happy in my experiences, and I enjoyed the experiences, and thank God I was so blessed and lucky to have a job that took me to those places for the industry that we're in. But at the end of the day, I couldn't wait to get home, and it didn't matter how long I was gone, a week or a month. It didn't matter. I was so ready to be home, and I was so ready to be back in America. And I love this country, and I've experienced those cultures, and it's great and all those things. But everybody wants to come to the U.S., whether you believe that or not. They do, and there's a reason for it. And so we have our problems, but I can tell you that we are exceptional on the world stage, and I can never wait to just get home. I just want to be home. And maybe it's because I'm American, maybe because I'm homesick, and you can draw some psychological conclusion from that. But it's really not. It's something specific that I participate in the culture of this country, and it has nothing to do with Uber Eats and easy to access gas stations and blah 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 blah. It's the whole package. It's everything. It's the people I say hi to in the grocery store. It's the stuff that I do on social media and the people I get to interact with in politics and the things I get to do. We really are an exceptional nation. And I deeply, deeply, deeply take offense at the rhetoric that's been going on the last 10 years in this country, specifically when Obama came into office. Prior to that, look, I had my problems with the Republicans. I probably was a Democrat, to be honest with you, leading up to Obama's election. But I was nothing when Obama was elected in all the actions that he did. I was nothing. I was not a Republican. I was not a Democrat. I hated them both. All for foreign wars, foreign garbage. You lied to me. Then you lied to the American public, and you got them to go along with one of the biggest mass surveillance programs in the world and created additional federal law enforcement agencies to monitor and track and handle these things. And people like Edward Snowden and many of these other people had to go on the run for telling the truth. That was not okay by me. And so, I'm a weird Republican, I guess. I'm registered so I can participate in primaries. But I can tell you unequivocally, at least from my experience, and I have yet to find a country that I love more than this country. And even with the great experiences I've had, I couldn't wait to get home.
Absolutely. Well, and the deal is that the Democrats, their rhetoric of saying how much they hate America is just not going to work out for them. But guys, we're at the end of the hour, so we'll be back in about 5 minutes with more of the political theater, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you guys share this link out, and we will be back after we come after a commercial break. Thanks, guys. And we are back. Thank you guys for joining us. This is the Political Theater, guys. Weeknights at 9. This is hour 2 of the Political Theater. Guys, the Political Theater is sponsored by The Wellness Company. Guys, go check out The Wellness Company at twc.health/TPT. And there's plenty of great products you can get on there. There was some other stuff that I mentioned yesterday that they actually have beef boxes where they've got full family meals and everything like that you can get a high quality grass fed beef that is has no mRNA vaccinations and stuff like that in it. I actually really support this company. There's some of this stuff in here that I didn't even know they had up until the point that they actually contacted me to sponsor me. So make sure you guys check that out. If you use TPT at checkout, you get 10% off your entire order. Make sure you guys check that out and support that company. And make sure you guys follow myself and Trash Discourse on X at WC Dispatch and at Trash Discourse. The best way you can support this show is subscribe to us both on X or on Substack at WCDispatch.com. And you can always find other ways to support the show. There's plenty of ways. We've got tip jars both on both of our pages. We've got Venmo and stuff like that if you guys just want to put a tip in for the show. I've actually had people give us money in the past, and I always appreciate it, guys. This is just the two of us that run this show, so we really do appreciate everybody that shows up every night and listens to us. But anyway, we're going to keep moving here, guys. We have got to talk about what just happened, apparently. So yesterday, or was it the day before? I don't remember which day it was, when we were talking about the government contract fraud issues, where the minority 8A contracts essentially is what we were talking about, where there are these socially, economically disadvantaged businesses that get contracts and how it's essentially a racket. And James O'Keefe has broke this story wide open. And we were talking about, we were going through the numbers on it and whether or not the numbers were accurate, whether it's probably much higher than $100 billion in fraud. But anyway, regardless of whatever the real number is on it, the story has broken open even further. Now, Bessent and I saw Kelly Loeffler already said that they opened an investigation, but Bessent just came out here just a few minutes ago at 9:13 this evening. He came out here with this statement. Go ahead.
Real quick, before you go into that. So for people listening, just for Providence, just in case, for some reason you don't know, it's fine. It's no big deal. I'm the idiot on the internet that chases all of these stories. Kelly Loeffler is the head of the Small Business Administration, right? And so, I was questionable about her at first. I mean, I know who she is from Georgia and all the things. She's been doing some great job out of the SBA, but the Small Business Administration is how it landed initially in her lap, and now Scott Bessent has gotten in there. And just a few minutes ago is what Walt's talking about, and I just wanted to set that up a little bit, Walt, so people knew why Kelly Loeffler's name was being mentioned. She's the head of the SBA, and this is kind of where this whole thing originated.
Right. Yep. So anyway, here on Scott Bessent just released this earlier, saying the U.S. Department of Treasury and its related agencies today announced the immediate suspension of all contracts and task orders with ATI Government Solutions, pending an investigation into allegations of approximately $253 million in Treasury administrative contract value. Taxpayers must be protected. We will not tolerate schemes that try to game small business programs. SBA Kelly Loeffler, that's who we were just mentioning, has my full support to get to the bottom of any abuse of the 8A program. U.S. Treasury will cooperate fully with the SBA government inspectors and enforcement partners to safeguard the integrity of federal contracting and will refer this matter to the Department of Justice. So they're in hot water, and rightfully so, because this scheme that we broke this down really in depth the other night. How this works, how these programs are set up, how it's essentially like a point system, that they have, that it's essentially designed so that if you're a minority-owned business or if you're a Native American-owned business, you have like 100% chance of landing a contract. And I went through some of the other contracts that I've looked at in the past talking about this. There is the last one that I looked at was actually when I was going into the social media the groups that were, they were hired by the State Department to create authentic content for the State Department that created Ukrainian propaganda. And the company that was running it was some random little company that operated a single room in a bank in Juneau, Alaska, which was just ridiculous. But it's a $20 million contract, and the guy just had an office there. When you call the bank and ask, hey, what's this company? They're like, I don't know. He rented that office a while ago. I've never seen him before, but, he rented that thing. I've never seen him since then. It's just an empty office building, and he's got a $20 million contract with the federal government. That kind of stuff just needs to stop. It just does. It just needs to go away. Okay, we just need to get rid of the entire program. And one of the things that I thought was really important was when Kelly Loeffler brought it up, and I'll go over to this post, and I'm sure I can find it reasonably quickly, because the initial statement that she had on this was that the problem is that it's essentially institutionalized abuse, and that's what the most important part about this is. It is institutionalized. Like almost all federal contracts, somebody probably goes through it and manages to get them using this method. Okay, and that's the biggest problem with it. So if they go after this stuff and start going into a lot of the 8A contracts, we're going to clean up a lot of waste and fraud in the federal government, because these pass-throughs, the problem is you don't know where they sublet out, okay? Like there was actually one contract I was looking at. I'll bring this up briefly. I have to be kind of careful about how I say it, but essentially the company was, they had high security clearance contracts, and they were subletting those contracts out to companies that were out of the country, even though they were supposed to have a high security clearance to be even able to access them. So that's, illegal. You can't do that. Like if you need the security clearance to operate your contract, you can't hire people from out of the country to be able to do it, because they can't get security clearances because they're out of the country. So it is a huge problem. Like the subletting of contracts needs to end. They need to fix this. So I'm glad that the SBA has launched an investigation. I'm glad that Scott Bessent's all over it, and good on James O'Keefe for breaking this story, because this is a big one. And if they really start to go through all of these 8A contracts, there's going to be a lot more than just this.
No, that's absolutely correct. And I would encourage people to actually stay on this one. This one here, do you remember, Walt, when Oversight Project was Mike Howell and all them, and we were having spaces on Biden's executive order 14019. That number is always in my brain. You guys can go look it up yourself. But it was essentially a whole of government touch points, including the Small Business Administration, not only individually within states, but also federally. And what they would do is they would work in conjunction with each other and essentially get all this funding, both from slush funds and most likely State Department, USAID stuff. But they were getting all this funding, and it was part of this executive order. And they were actually requisiting the government and Joe Biden, saying, hey, isn't this an educational piece that we can run through our educational NGOs? And can't we get the same funding? And then basically it was just approved en masse. And essentially it was paying for the steel and the ballot harvesting operations, and the using the whole of government touch points for illegal immigrants to, whether they were trying to get a state ID or whether they were trying to get a work permit or whatever it was, if they were touching the federal government in any way, they could be given citizenship and most likely were voting. This is something that we were talking about back then, this is even pre-2024, so probably 2023. But they were using the Small Business Administration and then ultimately the EPA to fund this whole thing. That's what I'm saying. I think people really need to stay on this story, because the SBA, not only at the state level, but the federal level, has been exploited for these touch points where all kinds of funding would go to and be filtered to and slush fund to and requisited from. And they were moving through this. And these fake small businesses would pop up out of nowhere and receive so much money through our federal government grant programs and USAID and our State Department, whatever. And they were functioning and they were working actively against the American public and against the will of the voter, diluting their voices. This is actually a serious story, Walt. So I actually want to see this through.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this story is going to continue to grow, and typical of James O'Keefe, his style is that he's just going to continue to talk about it, and every time they think that they've gotten away with it, he's just going to drop the next nugget. Like it's
the wig and the glasses, though. The wig
dude.
and the glasses.
The outfit is just outrageous, man. Listen to me. Like, if you are fooled to giving away information that you think could get you in trouble to a guy dressed like that, you deserve it. You deserve it. Like, you deserve to get caught. You deserve to have this all taken out from you. Like, I mean, you shouldn't have any government contracts if James O'Keefe is showing up in a absurd wig in a bright pink suit. I mean, just I love it, man. I love it. I love it.
He kind of broke through on. It was like he was dressed as a pimp.
That's right.
His acorns off.
Yes, dude. I mean, this is typical of James O'Keefe's style. Like, I love it. I'll go and see if I can find this image that someone put up that I thought was great talking about this. There was this great image that someone's like, oh, I figured out what his outfit was modeled on. And it was what is the guy's name?
The church lady from SNL. Yeah.
No. It's the guy, this image here. So it's, hold on a second. I'll put this up on the screen so people can see this. This is great. So this is the outfit that he's talking about. Like, look at this. Like, this is the outfit. Like, it's the same outfit, and this is James O'Keefe in his pink suit and the glasses and the wig. Like, and this is like like, I don't know what movie this is from. I don't really remember, but it's just hysterical that it's so similar. Like, I love it. Like, it's just the green suit with the ridiculous wig and the giant glasses. Like, I love it. Like, it's fantastic. But typical of James O'Keefe to come up with this ridiculous outfit, this and ridiculous story. So. But anyway, so just speaking of ridiculous stories, we do need to talk about this evening because the Democrats over the past week or two have been screaming about Republicans in group chats. My God, the young Republicans are Nazis. Have you not seen? Have you not heard? We are Nazis. I know they've been calling us Nazis for like 10 years and that it's a completely meaningless term now because they just call everybody that's even right of center a literal fascist that worships Hitler and, all of that stuff. And these group chats of random conversations completely out of context mean that the entire Republican Party is infiltrated by Nazis. That's what they claim. Well, in the midst of that, there is some loser running for Senate up in Maine, and this guy's name is Graham Plattner.
This is a crazy story.
Oh, this is wild. So Graham Plattner, when I first heard about him, I looked at the guy and I just did a quick glance. I don't really pay a whole lot of attention to Maine of all places. Like, I mean, it's Susan Collins, yay. I mean, like whatever. I'm not a huge fan of the woman, but anyway,
like imagine me like going to the rug or going to the mat for like Lisa Murkowski. Like, I really don't care. I don't at all.
So Graham Plattner is this guy that he's he's a former Marine. He served tours of duty, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at him for just like quickly and I just like saw him. I was like, oh, okay. So he's not a gay communist. Good. Like, that sounds awesome. He's not some radical Marxist. Maybe that's a good thing. And I was wrong. I was very wrong, and I regretted my decision. Okay, like I regretted my decision to give him a chance. I gave him a chance for like a week, and then someone came out with the images and messages from his Reddit posts, and his Reddit posts were like, "Yep, I came back from the war, and then I realized that all that was wrong, and I became a magic mushroom eating communist." His words, not mine. Like, okay, well, oh well. I mean, I guess you're just a communist, so I guess you are a gay communist. So anyway, but this is a news story based on Graham Plattner now. So this came out today, or maybe it's last night. I'm not sure when this came out, but this is apparently Graham Plattner, and Tim Pool has the story here. So I just want to go ahead and play this clip because this is pretty good. I think this covers all.
Tim actually does a proper takedown, but I want to remind people, I can't remember if Tim touched on it here. Like, I think Tim Pool did a proper analysis on this, and I think that what he was talking about, but it's called the totem cough.
Yes.
The problem is that his staff knows that he's a history buff and knows that when he says out loud in quotes, "This is my totem cough," that he actually understands what that tattoo was. So the thing was, he didn't even plead ignorance. He was like, "Yeah, no, I covered it up. Yeah, I'm kind of crazy like that. I'm kind of a Nazi, kind of a communist." I'm like, well, which one? Pick it. And by the way, you worked for Blackwater. You were on Spec Ops. You contracted and trained Antifa, and you also actually understand this as a history person, that these were like the people that actually took the people in the trains and into the shower. Like, this was like an actual, like, real problematic part of like the Nazi history or whatever.
Yeah. So by the way, we didn't set it up exactly what happened here. So Graham Plattner was caught on video, and apparently he has a tattoo on his chest of this Nazi symbol, like a legitimate Nazi symbol. So in the midst of all of the Democrats screaming that, the Republicans are all Nazis because of these group chats, they have a Senate candidate that has a tattoo of an SS death camp symbol on his chest. Yes, you heard that correctly. That is accurate. So let's go ahead.
He's a Spec Op military history buff. He knew this, and you had people from his own camp that resigned the moment the story came out because they said, yeah, no, he knew that. He knew exactly what it was.
Yep. So let's go ahead and play this from Tim Pool here.
This is the craziest candidate. I don't even know what to say about this guy, to be honest. He's got a Nazi tattoo. I don't think anybody can have a tattoo that long and just literally not know it's a Totenkopf. So apparently they're saying he got rid of it. Maine U.S. Senate candidate apologizes for a tattoo with Nazi links. Oh, my God. These people are evil. Guys, I don't care if you have a Nazi tattoo. Okay? Not my cup of tea. Not a fan of it. And I probably wouldn't want to associate with you. Okay? Seriously. If I had a friend who started getting Nazi tattoos, I'd have an intervention for him. And if he wants to go down that path, that ain't for me. People are allowed to have opinions, even bad ones, as long as they're not being violent towards other people. Then that it is what it is. Now, the left is advocating for policies that are violent. If neo-Nazis come forward and say, we want racial segregationist policies, I will argue and debate with them and shut them down to the best of my abilities, the same as any other ideology I do not like. But this guy, the New York Times, Nazi links? It's literally the Totenkopf. It's identical. It is the same symbol specific to the Nazis. This is not some Jolly Roger. There's a if you look on the Wikipedia, there's a whole bunch of other different. It's called the Dead Man's Head. Some people call it a Jolly Roger. See, 19th century Jolly Roger, used by Barbary corsairs, crossed bones with a skull. This one, the one he's got, Nazis, and this is what the New York Times does because it is a cult. They don't care what's true. They are lying, manipulating, and there are people who genuinely fall for this stuff.
So that is what the New York Times, and I do love that they refer to it as Nazi links. Like, it's not links, it's literally Nazi symbols. Like, it's like direct Nazi symbols. It's not links. It's not like, ooh, close to Nazis. Like, no, it's just Nazis. Like, it'd be, my goodness.
Right, like, oh, silly guy. He got a tattoo with
whoops.
his boys, and he picked out the one with the skull, and it looked so aggressive, and he didn't realize until it was too late that it was a Totenkopf, by the way. And then, but yeah, I mean, I just left it there. It was fine, because, like, at the end of the day, it was just me and my boys getting a tattoo. By the way, I am also a Nazi, and I'm also a communist. His words.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get it both ways. And then when you have your staff resigning the moment the story comes out, because they're like, yeah, he's a military history buff. He knows exactly what the fuck that is. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is nuts. Like, this is nuts. And it's just, to me, I'm mad at myself, okay? Like, I'm actually mad at myself because I gave this guy a chance. When I first heard about him, I was like, oh, look, a guy, a straight white man running for office as a Democrat. My goodness. And he was like masculine in his imagery and his, his discussion. He's like, comes out, he's like, oh, I'm a Marine, I want to put Maine first. And, he, like, I didn't agree with his policies. He said stuff like, I want to, universal health care and crap like that. And it's like, well, okay, I mean, but I'll quibble with you about that, but that's normal discussions with idiot Democrats. I mean, that's normal stuff to argue with him about. But then it just turns out that he's a Nazi communist. Like, I mean, what? Of course he is. Like, why wouldn't he be? Like, come on. Like, can you guys, like, run one normal person? Like, is it possible for you? And, of course, Bernie Sanders immediately came out defending him. He's like, have you run 4 tours? Have you served 4 tours for your country? Have you? Have you run 4 tours? Like, no, I haven't. But at the same time, I don't have Nazis tattooed on my chest. Like, I mean, what the, like... Okay, like, I don't have Nazi tattoos, symbols tattooed anywhere near me. I don't know anybody that has Nazi tattoos just, like, tattooed anywhere on them. Like, I just don't, that's not something I normally worry about. Okay, like, my friends that I know don't have Nazi tattoos. Okay, my friends that I know don't accidentally get Nazi tattoos. They also don't get drunk and get Nazi tattoos. They also don't take magic mushrooms and claim that they're a communist. Like, those are things that my friends don't do. So, these people... They don't, and Tim Pool's point is correct, and where he says that they just don't care. Yeah, they don't. They don't care. They picked this guy. There's a commentator. If you guys know who Evan Barker is, she's a writer. She's a great commentator.
Disaffected liberal Democrat.
Yep,
yeah.
and she's actually been talking about this guy. She's like, this guy is what they think the average working class in Portland, Oregon thinks of a working class man. That's why they picked him. She thinks that he was just plucked because it looks like a working class guy. It looks like a guy that people could relate to. That's why they picked him out of nowhere. But, I don't know any working class guys that I know of that have Nazi tattoos. So, whatever. I mean, I guess whatever. Gay communism is still on the full rise, and turns out this guy's just yet another one of those people, and it's just insane to me.
I mean, I'm just waiting, Walt, for the moment that somebody leaks some kind of group chat from Grindr talking about how he's just a bear. Like that, and then he becomes a gay communist. Like, I think that's coming next.
That'll be next week. That'll be next week. I mean, I'm sure that'll be next week. I mean, at this point,
I'm sure.
Like, it's not even like a joke anymore. It's like, I gave the guy like the benefit of the doubt when I first saw him. I was like, okay, whatever. He's got progressive policies, but maybe he's not a lunatic Marxist. He's not endorsed by the DSA. Like, okay, maybe he'll be a normal Democrat. Nope, not even close. Like, No, he's somehow worse. Like, I mean,
Right.
how
So
are
he
you
didn't even
worse?
come out. He
How?
didn't even come out and plead ignorance. Like
He
I
didn't.
laid the case that he couldn't plead ignorance. That's the case I just laid about 5 minutes ago. But nevertheless, let's assume for a moment that he does. He comes out because I'm a nobody on the internet. I'm just a random raccoon on the internet. But let's assume for a moment that you don't take my argument into heart, and that I haven't convinced you that like you can't escape this. Instead, what he does is not come out and plead ignorance. He says, "Well, it was a tattoo, but I got it covered up now. It's fine." No, it's not fine. Like
It's
none of
not
it's
fine.
fine.
It's not fine.
Like at
It's just
all.
not fine. Like it's not okay. Like it's not fine. It's not at all. By the way, our friend of the show, friend of mine, Aladdin says that he actually has reached out to the guys that he served with in the Marine Corps. So my guess is we'll find some more information about this guy very shortly, and he's going to get buried by this. Now, the one thing I will say about this is that I didn't think he had much of a chance anyway, because the moment that he announced, I was like, well, looks like he's got the progressives backing him. But then shortly afterwards, the current governor of Maine, whatever her name, Mills, which is the woman that Trump shut down in the White House, she
Yeah,
announced her
she's the
candidacy.
not governor, senator. No,
No, she's a
governor.
governor. Yeah, she's a governor of Maine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So she's the woman that Trump shut down in the White House, and she announced her candidacy, and the Democrats all started yelling and screaming about how she's the greatest thing that's ever happened, because the Democrats cannot support straight white men normally. So Graham Plattner was like a change in that direction for whatever reason they thought he was going to work, and well, it just turns out he's a communist and a Nazi apparently. So I guess that's not going to work out for him. I love that the Democrats have screamed for so long about this stuff, and then they actually run a candidate who has it tattooed on his chest. Like, your messaging, these people's messaging is just like so bad. It's like it's hard to comprehend how bad it is. Like I've never seen messaging this bad before. I didn't think it was possible to be as stupid as this, but it is. I mean, like even Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, our favorite around here, is that did you see the message she put out today? She said, "My meetings with these people fuels my candidacy." Like, you used the word fuel. Like, how are you this bad at this? How are you so stupid? Like, just don't, like, the word fuel goes immediately to, oh yeah, so your rage fuels you. Okay, like, so that's your own words, and that's what we've been hitting you on for like a week now, or like 2 weeks now. So, but no, but like you just put it in a message and just tweet it out, because, and by the way, what AI are they using? Like, at one point I put a poll out, like, okay, what AI are they using, or are they just idiots? And they are just idiots. It was won by like 1,000 to 1 on that poll, by the way, but it was just amazing to me that they have no concept of their messaging being this bad. But yes, Graham Plattner, magic mushroom eating communist with Nazi tattoos, wonderful, well picked. Great candidate. Looks like you're not going to get anywhere, and even though he's come out and apologized, the one thing that's amazing about this is apparently his campaign had already raised like $1 million. So I assume he'll just pay his campaign manager $1 million, and then they'll call the end of the candidacy. I don't know. That's probably how that'll go. These people are just so transparent grifters, man. It really is bad.
And I want to transition into Virginia on the heels of this story, because we're seeing the same thing going on in New York. We're seeing the same thing going on in New Jersey. We're seeing the same thing going on in Virginia. And this Mayor Pete clip to kick off our Virginia section is really kind of worth it. But I don't want to miss both the Andy No interview with Alex Marlowe at Breitbart, and which was in reaction to Harmeet Dillon's about 4-minute clip I've got here. Her talking about how she did represent Andy No, and went after Antifa, and they're going after the funding sources. So, like, Walt, you tell me at this point. I don't mean to do this on public space, but I don't know where we go with this. What does the audience want? Do we want to pivot into more of these like ridiculous races that are being astroturfed by people like Abigail Spanberger, and do we go into Virginia politics and New Jersey politics and New York politics, whatever it may be? I have some comments on Curtis Flewa, which probably won't be popular, but it's irrelevant to me because I've seen the data. Or do we get into this Antifa story a little bit, because they are getting close? We saw Kash Patel come out like a day ago or so. Essentially, they're saying that they're getting close to the funding sources for Antifa. But people like Harmeet Dillon and Andy No, these people too have very intimate knowledge with Antifa, and that's going to be very relevant. And it's relevant to the TPUSA Frontlines story where they infiltrated Antifa in Portland. All of that is a very important story. So I guess I want to hear from you or anybody else. I think we should dive into Antifa a little bit, just kind of get through these two clips, because they're probably going to be the most relevant to actually chasing down the funding sources for people like Antifa, and then we pivot into Virginia and then close the space out with Virginia, because we have about 2 hours of content with Virginia today. These people are nuts, and they have gone crazy today.
Oh yeah,
Tells me they're not winning.
Yeah, they're not winning. Okay, like and we can. I think we end out with Virginia this evening. So, but for guys on the show, I mean, we can listen to what the audience wants to say. What do you guys want to hear about Antifa first? Because we do have a ton of stuff to talk about on Antifa. I mean, it looks like they're. And by the way, it does look like the Portland stuff looks like we at some point they're going to have to deploy the National Guard. The shit is going crazy there. There is all sorts of crazy stuff happening there. So you guys can tell us in the chats what you think we should move into directly. We can talk about Antifa for a little bit here. We can talk about the funding sources going on there. We can talk about Harmeet Dillon and Andy No. It's up to you guys. I mean, we can do this. I think I'd rather hear about this Antifa story here directly with Breitbart, because I actually haven't heard this yet. The editor in chief at Breitbart with Alex Marlowe and Andy No. I did not listen to this earlier, but we can. There we go.
So here's what we'll do. Here's what I recommend, Walt. I don't mean to cut you off. Here's what I recommend. I think you back it up a clip to the one I sent you with Harmeet Dillon. It's about 4 minutes long. This is the first time I've ever heard her speak on this at great length. I think we should hear her out here with the 4 minutes, and I think we close the Antifa segment for now, because I think that Frontlines and all the people that have done that investigation, there's more to come on that. And so I think we should set that up for the future. I think that we should play the Harmeet Dillon clip that's about 4 minutes long, and she talks about this, but where she was actually Andy No's attorney before she's doing what she's doing now. And then we jump into with Alex Marlowe and Andy No, which came out in response to this clip.
Yeah, let's go with Harmeet then. So, and people are all screaming Antifa. They want to hear about Antifa. Everyone wants to hear about the terrorists.
Fantastic.
They say, and that's fine. I want to hear about the terrorists too.
Biased.
So, yeah, I am biased. I want to hear about the terrorists. I want to know about. By the way, yes, Antifa is a terrorist organization. Anybody who says otherwise is lying to you. And by the way, I don't know if you guys saw earlier, Nick Sorter actually managed to get images inside their safe house that they have in Portland, very close to the ICE facility, which was pretty interesting. So that was earlier today. But we'll play this clip from Harmeet here. But guys, before we do that, make sure you guys share this space out. This is the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. Thank you guys for joining us. This is Walter Curtin, Trash Discourse. Make sure you guys follow us on X at WC Dispatch and at Trash Discourse. And if you're in the X space, towards the end of the show, you guys can come up here and join us on the show. You can ask questions. You can come up here and hang out and bring up whatever you want to talk about. But make sure you follow the new Political Theater account on X, which is at TPT 2025 TM. So make sure you guys follow that account. And we're going to go ahead and start off here with this is Harmeet talking about the investigation into Antifa.
Similarly, you saw the Black Lives Matter movement. You've seen Occupy Wall Street. These are all strains of different, sort of European-centric Marxist violent ideologies that have come to the United States. Now, the most dangerous and pernicious of these is Antifa, and standing for anti-fascist, which is anything but, really. I became acquainted with a young journalist named Andy No back in the 2018, 2019 timeframe. I just saw his work online. He was talking about Antifa. He met me one time in San Jose. He wanted to meet me. He was visiting a family member, so I met him after court one day and got to become friends with him. And then he was violently assaulted in Portland while he was reporting on an Antifa rally/riot. Violently assaulted, and these criminals had tactical military gear, hardened gloves, weapons. They came to harm and maim. It's not a phenomenon we see on American streets typically. It's kind of shocking.
And all of them in the same outfit.
They're wearing masks.
This isn't just organic.
Pre-COVID, they're wearing masks on their faces, balaclavas, and their faces are covered, and they're there to do mischief and mayhem. And so I helped Andy in that situation as his lawyer. Eventually, he was attacked a second time, then he stopped doing his own because he became too recognizable to these criminals. And so he continues to report, but through proxies. And there's violence against the press is literally something that a civilized society like ours cannot tolerate. And yet we do tolerate it. Violence against the police. Portland Antifa, Seattle Antifa, they've put federal buildings and federal law enforcement, federal courts under siege. And so all I could do as a private lawyer in private practice is I had started a nonprofit, Center for American Liberty, and we represented Andy in suing Antifa. Kind of novel, because Antifa is a shadowy criminal organization, hard to file hard to file a lawsuit against someone, just hard to serve them, hard to find them. It was a very challenging case, and I'm proud of that case. The case went on for years, and we tried to serve people and all of that. We ultimately won a settlement from one of these criminals, and we won default judgments against some of them. We're never able to serve some of them. And
so what makes it so shadowy?
Well, they are shadowy on purpose. They operate in tiny cells like a terrorist organization. They use burner phones. I think they actually prey on and recruit disillusioned, disaffected young people in our society. Quite a few trans people are in the Antifa movement. I don't think I had seen more than one trans person in my life in the wild until the Andy Ngo case. And as I'm researching these people who attacked him, we would use videos, we would crowdsource who they are. Several of them were trans. I don't know if it's the hormones or the fact that they're unhappy with their lives that made them good targets for this sort of anarcho-terror organization, but they are. And so they form and they have their little cells, they do their little things, and then they disperse. They have leaders who travel from city to city and riot to riot. So they have leaders. We were able to identify some of those leaders. Networks. And so Andy is really the expert on this. I would recommend anybody to read his books on these issues and his reporting. It's fascinating. It's a whole world I never knew existed. And frankly, for too long in this country, law enforcement hasn't done anything about it. And now the president has announced a focus on it. And so we have to get to the bottom of this because nobody is free. If there are cities in the United States with terror networks and cells plotting disruption of our transit or blocking our way to our courthouses or ICE or the police or journalists literally attacking the heart of truth in our society.
So that is Harmeet talking about the Antifa organization, and it is a very good description of it because this is what we mentioned before, is that, Antifa, they claim that it is a leaderless, structureless, it's just some meaningless organization that doesn't actually do anything, that they don't have any real leaders or any true institutional power. Well, but none of that's true, though. Okay, these people have existed, and by the way, they've existed before they were called Antifa. They were just anarchist before the anarchist movement, so they existed prior to the concept of being called Antifa. And the people
left-wing anarchists.
Yes, left-wing anarchist. But the deal is that everyone, like the left, if you listen to them, they say, "Oh, Antifa is just an idea. They're not actually an organization." Yes, they are. Okay, yes, they are an organization. And just because they have a leaderless structure where they operate in cells, that doesn't mean that they're not an organization. Listen, all that means is that they're actually a terrorist organization. That's all that means. That's the only thing that means, okay? And the left has been trying desperately to say, oh, Antifa is not really a thing. Oh, they're just kids out in the streets. No, they're not.
A bunch of misanthropes that are just misguided. They're just out there doing things. But listen, it's child's play. Yeah, I know they throw fireworks, but honestly, guys, they're just misanthropic, young, angry kids. They don't know what they're doing. I can tell you, I've had people infiltrate that organization way prior to this. I just wasn't allowed to publish the story. I can tell you there's many people who have been disaffected by it because it's so violent and it is so organized, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, they have full guidebooks and all sorts of other stuff. We've gone through our own investigations into similar organizations, which it's not just Antifa. They have we call them affinity groups, so horizontally aligned affinity groups is what we refer to them as. And there's Indivisible, there's Sunrise Movement, there's Shutdown DC, there's a ton of these organizations, and they all kind of operate in the same sort of thing. There's one called Jane's Revenge that was burning crisis pregnancy centers down in Florida. They're all the same groups, okay, and they're all the funding networks is what I'm more interested in. So I'm very interested by this stuff. But Andy Ngo has been at the forefront of this for a long time now. So he really is the expert on this, and I recommend everyone go check him out. So Andy Ngo is NGO, by the way. That's how you spell his name. It's ANDYNGO. His reporting on this has been stellar. He's been the one at the forefront of this, and they have attacked him. They hate this guy. I mean, he probably has more death threats than most people because of his reporting on Antifa.
And as you're setting up this clip, and I know you're setting it up because this is the clip that kind of brings all this home, What Harmeet was what she was talking about before she was, a civil rights attorney general, assistant attorney general of civil rights division of the DOJ. She did have a private practice in California, and she was one of the people that picked up Andy Ngo's case early. And this is when he wasn't just attacked. To be clear, I've brought this up before, but I don't think people understand it. He was milkshaked. So milkshaking is a term that you use where you essentially create, I don't know, a cup of a beverage, or a milkshake, whatever, and you fill it with concrete and you throw it and hurl it at the person who was an independent journalist at the time, who was Andy Ngo, and they split his head wide open with a cup full of cement that had a little bit of milkshake in it. And they're like, we don't know where it came from. That's so crazy. Like, it was just a milkshake. How did it split his head open? That's so weird. And it was a clump of cement that split his head open. You can go search Andy Ngo milkshake, and you're going to find the case, and you're going to find what happened and when they split his head open, because he was like the one guy, before he was even part of Post Millennial, he was the one guy chasing down these groups. And now he's been chasing down these trans accelerationist type groups like the ZZs, which is a cult out in the Pacific Northwest. Who these are like trans individuals who try to infiltrate the 2A community, and they have been part of and been responsible for a lot of not only mass casualty events, but like pop up violence that has occurred when there was counter protests, if you want to call it that, from people like Antifa and many of these other accelerationist groups. These people are all one and the same, and the funding does need to be chased down because these people are not capable of raising funding. No matter what you think, they're not capable. So the funding comes from somewhere, and you don't get a secure lock building like Nick Sorter just pointed out with glass and aluminum and have an entire building in downtown Portland without getting some kind of external funding. And this is kind of the point. And so Harmeet is uniquely positioned, specifically within the Assistant Attorney General's Civil Rights Division Office of the DOJ, to be able to go after this at a federal level, versus just doing it no more than a representative type litigious lawyer environment that she originally met Andy Ngo on. And this clip with Alex Marlow of Breitbart is actually what I was waiting for, because Andy knows this, and now he's coming out public.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and play this here.
So who funds them? What do we know about the funding of Antifa?
A lot of focus right now is looking at how NGOs play a very important support role in the apparatus. And that is stuff that, these aren't conspiracy theories. You can look at the organizations that provide, for example, bail money or free legal aid to those accused of engaging in Antifa domestic terrorist acts. And there's numerous ones. So who funds them? Well, with these nonprofits, a lot of them get state funding in states where Democrats control the purse. So they will give grant money to many of these far left organizations. The city of Portland, for example, is helping to move in a open borders nonprofit into an office space right by the ICE facility in Portland. That's not a direct Antifa connection, but it's part of the larger apparatus of far left groups and individuals who are being aided by nonprofits who are funded by taxpayers. Another way that taxpayers fund Antifa is that, for example, the far left actively encourage their allies to get arrested, to be violent and to get arrested, because one, it provides great propaganda for the cameras. And you see all the headlines that come out showing these people who look like moms and dads and brothers and sisters getting arrested. But then these people get immediately connected to these nonprofit far left legal groups that build up cases for lawfare, suing for alleged police brutality, wrongful arrest. And in liberal jurisdictions, Portland, New York, Philadelphia, Seattle, there's a dozen of them across the US that have settled in regards to the 2020 riot arrests. And they'll settle in the millions each time, tens of millions, these huge lawsuits. They don't even bother to defend themselves at trial. They just settle. So then these individuals they were paid to riot, literally, by taxpayers. So it's our money that's funding a lot of them. And in regards to like shadowy sources of money, well, there are groups like the International Antifa Defense Fund who operate all these crowdfunding campaigns on these sites, and all the donations are anonymous. and they don't state exactly who's benefiting from the money and how that money is being used. So there's stuff like that where it would require law enforcement to issue subpoenas, to turn over names, and also to get records. And that type of effort we haven't seen play out yet.
So
that's talking about how a lot of their funding operates, which is one of the most important aspects of all of this, really.
It really is. And, I don't want to be doom and gloom, and I'm certainly not a Civil War proponent, but I can tell you, I think that some things are going to get a little bit darker before they get brighter. And I would just encourage people to understand. A lot of us have been yelling about this for years, and many of us have been, censored off the internet. But people like Andy know, I think he's being coy a little bit there. I think Harmeet Dillon was being a little bit coy. I'm not accusing them of malicious intent. I'm simply saying this is a big, 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 big problem. And yeah, hell, go look at my friend Becca, BX underscore on underscore X. She's been talking about militant satanic accelerationists for years. Whatever your flavor of the month is, as a young person who feels disrespected and misanthropic, whether it's Satanism, or whether it's cutting, or whether it's extortion, or whether it's porn, or whatever it may be, it's being exploited by foreign governments and foreign agencies and our own taxpayers at taxpayer dollars at one point. And so much now, it's not happening. So the investigations, to me, and tracing the money sources are far more vast and far more important. It would be like an 11-year-old running up on me in a public park and saying, "You're not lighting that barbecue grill right. You need to fix that grill." And I would laugh at them. They're like, "Well, yeah, I know how to light a grill. I got it. It's fine." But these people are being influential, and they're being backed by a lot of money that sow chaos and division in this country. And this is what we are up against. And that's why I think that, like Nick Sorter and many of these guys at front lines, and them infiltrating them is actually the glimpse that we need at the time that we need it. We've had the glimpse in it, but it really wasn't the timing. People didn't understand it. It was the popular talking point in the narrative by the legacy media and by a bunch of bought and paid for politicians is don't know what the hell they're talking about. Where this is an idea. That's not a real group. No, they're specifically and intentionally decentralized, and they are absolutely funded because these people couldn't earn $2 to their own name if they had to survive on their own merit. No, they're useful idiots, and they will wreak violent havoc because they have nothing else to lose.
Yeah, I mean, they're ideologically driven, is what the reality of it is. Is that they're a terrorist organization that's completely ideologically driven, and it has the misanthrope type people are part of it. But the people that you really need to go after are the leaders of it, because there are leaders of it. I mean, there are actual leaders of it. I mean, you don't have Antifa International, by the way. There is an Antifa International, which I'm actually going to be kind of surprised if there's not at some point here in the near future. If there's not some form of look, they're probably going at some point they're going to show they're going to figure out that the Antifa International is actually the main funding of all of this, and that they're the ones that organize everything. I'm not going to be surprised by that at all. That'll happen at some point in the near future.
Yep. And matter of fact, I just want to remind people, this professor who was out in, I don't know, Portland State or wherever he was one of the authors of the Antifa handbook. And he all of a sudden popped up out of nowhere in Spain. Shockingly, after the Trump administration said, we're actually going to crack down on this and track down the funding sources. So this professor, Professor Bray, I believe his name is, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. I know he's in Spain, and I know he was found. The same people who founded Rose City Antifa, which is probably one of the most popular or well-known Antifa groups, Rose City Antifa, the two people that started that, a male and a female, they ran to Sweden, and they were just recently found by a local independent journalist in Sweden, and they were found to be in Sweden. So now you have I would say probably three of the main 5 or 8 founders of Antifa in the U.S. that were receiving funding and doing everything else have run out of the country and been found in other countries. Why do you think that is? To be clear. And so I just hope I just hope that everything chills out on the right side of things, and that the anarcho accelerationist climate change lunatics, the satanic accelerationists, I hope they don't get their way. But when you I've said this on this show many times. When you force vaccine mandates and you do this DEI, George Floyd, you're a police officer, you're bad, all cops are bad, all cops are bastards type campaigns, and you run these psyops and these influence ops through the American public for so long, and when these people say, screw it, I'm going to quit, like I'm not playing this game, they reloaded with people that are direct active members of Antifa. That's why you're seeing what's happening in Portland. Do be clear, that's how serious this is.
Yeah, and the big thing to me is going to be the when they start looking into all these places that are running, that like the people that are running away and that are running to different locations and whatnot. Like I sent you that article earlier today, Trash, of the what do they call him? Nelson Mandela, the Chinese fentanyl precursor guy that escaped and ran over to Cuba.
Lord.
Yeah. That was a crazy story. If you guys don't know there's a Substack that's worth following. It's called The Bureau. The guy that runs it he does an excellent job. And he's been tracking all of the Chinese influence and the Chinese money and the Chinese drug trafficking into the United States. It's coming through Canada, essentially. And this most recent guy that they were trying to go after, he apparently had a El Chapo style escape, which how did that not hit the news at all? Like no one, as far as I'm aware, that's the first place I heard about that. Did anybody else hear about that story? Like this guy is he's like the largest Chinese precursor dealer, and he escaped through some tunnel in the bottom of his house, and then ended up in Cuba. And now they caught him in Cuba, and they're extraditing him to the United States. Like, did anybody else hear that story? I only heard that story through this Substack. Like, I mean, that's the first place I heard about it. So, the outside influence on our country that these organizations, they all need to be arrested, and they all need to go after these people, and we need to go after the funding sources because these are the biggest problems we have, and Antifa is just one of the biggest problems, obviously. So I'm curious, though, what exactly
Sorry, Walt. I was responding to Mehdi Hassan. He is calling our democracy a idiocracy, and I said, just go back to the UK. Get the fuck out of our country. I'm done with you. Sorry about that. I was stuck replying to that guy.
You're fine. Mehdi is worth yelling at because no one cares about Mehdi. I still am waiting on the fish cam from Matt Walsh, though, so hopefully we get that. The fish cam, dude, I really want it. I think it'd be great, but and the taxpayers will fund it.
You know what? Let's get into Virginia. By the way, before we get into Virginia, real quick, I believe I sent this to you. You have it. Do we have Mayor Pete? Mayor Pete trying to shoot shots at... Yeah, no, I have to get it. Trying to shoot shots at Bobby Kennedy, of all people. Like, this guy is on the ground. Virginia votes. Walt.
Virginia votes, yeah. Yeah, send me this Mayor Pete stuff. So...
Oh, go for it.
Yeah,
apparently Bobby Kennedy is going to make hepatitis great again, apparently, or whatever.
Oh my goodness! So, by the way, guys, make sure you guys share this space out. Make sure you share the link to this show out. This is the Political Theater Weeknights, and now we're going to move into Virginia here for the final bit of the show. But like, what does Pete Buttigieg have to say here? Oh my goodness! Like Pete Buttigieg.
Apparently, Bobby Kennedy wants to make hepatitis great again. Calm down, chest feeder. What are you doing?
Yeah, calm down, chest feeder.
Across the board, we could do so much better. We can do so much better than a Secretary of Defense who accidentally sends secret battle plans to a journalist on an unclassified group chat. We can do so much better than that. When a Secretary of Homeland Security can't be bothered for 72 hours to launch search and rescue teams, just waiting for the go-ahead and the order to go help Americans as floodwaters rise in Texas, we know that we can do so much better than that. We can do so much better than a Secretary of Health who is doing his best to make hepatitis great again in the United States of America.
Oh, my goodness. Mayor Pete. Pothole Pete, so baby. Bad. Pothole Pete, baby. You know, do we have the Stephen Miller clip of him, of his, realizing that his polls are at 0 with blacks? Do we have that? We need to play that.
That was Bill Maher.
Yeah, that was Bill Maher. Yeah, we need that. We need to make sure we have that ready to go for this because it's so good. I mean, like these people are so boring. Like, I mean, Pete, who's going to be moved to go vote by Mayor Pete? By the way, here's something I would like everyone to notice, and I'll zoom back in here just so I can see this real quick. Like, look at the faces of the people behind him. And by the way, I love that they use this because I was actually looking at a different rally in a different clip the other day, and it's all of the same people. It's the same people behind him here. Like, I actually have this sent from somebody. Someone was talking about another event. And in the other event, the same exact people were behind him, and they were just as bored in that image as they are in this one. Like, equal levels of boredom. Like, they are not excited to be there. They're not paying them well enough. They don't even have smiles on their faces. They're not happy. But I love it. Like, it's all the same people. I wonder if I have that clip. Well, let me see if I can find this real quick because it's so
play
funny.
that. But I sent you the Bill Maher clip. This is Stephen A. Smith and Dr. Phil, and they're on Bill Maher. This was like back in August, so it was a few months ago. It's one of my favorite clips.
Yeah, no, I'm going to play this first, and then I'll see if I can find those images. It's just images of the same people from a different group, but I'll play this real quick here because this is great.
Democratic primary voters, 16% would support Buttigieg. That's the highest of any candidate. Pete Buttigieg.
I don't believe it. I think that's just a poll number. I can't see that happening.
Well, okay, but wait. 16%. Black voters, 0. 0. You don't usually see 0 anywhere. 0's low.
For who? What is this?
For Buttigieg. Okay, explain that. I mean, why do black voters have this? I mean, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's under-indexing a little bit with blac voters, yeah.
A little? What is that all about?
He doesn't move us. I respect the man. I've interviewed him before. Very nice man, highly intelligent. But you gotta be able to move us, bruh. He doesn't move us. Well, you can speculate as to why that is. I'm not going there. He doesn't move us.
Democratic.
So there is Stephen A. talking about Pete Buttigieg, and it's just so perfect. Like, I love that one, dude. It was so good. He doesn't move. He doesn't move us. Like, yeah, indexing at 0 with black voters. Like, I can't. And this is like, why, by the way, I was saying that after Kamala lost in 2024, that hopefully we get a 2028 rematch. But then she does the Mayor Pete and Kamala ticket, and so that'll be Booty Juice and the Hoe running together. And it will be the only ticket that'll never get a single straight white man in the entire country to vote for them. Like, it just, like, no, in fact, I don't even think any straight normal man, it doesn't matter what race they are, they won't vote for that. Like, there's no way that they will get any straight people to vote for that ticket. It'll be one of the only tickets in history that gets like 10% of the male vote in the country. It'll be very funny.
No, it's so good. By the way, guys, you guys were probably caught off guard by this clip. I think we should play it again, Walt, because many people were caught off guard by this. I just want to point out, like, Dr. Phil, like, he's trying to come in and trying to be diplomatic, and he's like, well, yeah. I mean, Pete Buttigieg seems to be under-indexing quite a bit with the black vote. And Stephen Smith is like, I'm going to let you guys speculate. I'm going to let you guys go on this, whatever, but, like, it doesn't move us. Yes. I wish you played the clip again.
Yeah, I can play it again.
Primary voters, 16% would support Buttigieg. That's the highest of any candidate. Pete Buttigieg.
I don't believe it. I think that's just a poll number. I can't see that happening.
Well, okay, but wait. 16%. Black voters, 0. 0. You don't usually see 0 anywhere. 0's low.
For who? What is this?
For Buttigieg. Explain that. I mean, why do black voters have this? I mean, he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's under-indexing a little bit with black voters, yeah.
A little. What is that all about?
He doesn't move us. I respect the man. I've interviewed him before. Very nice man, highly intelligent. But you gotta be able to move us, bruh. He doesn't move us. Well, you can speculate as to why that is. I'm not going there. He doesn't move us.
Democratic.
There you go. So there's the clip twice there. So it is just hysterical to me because I love that I love that he said it before he even knew really what was going on. He's like, no, I can't see that happening. No way in hell Mayor Pete's got any chance in hell. And they're like, well, but wait, black voters 0. Like, oh. Yeah, apparently it is 0. I mean, Stephen A. didn't even have to think about it. And he was like, no, there's no way that's true. Okay, there's no way Mayor Pete's got a chance in hell. But he's on the ground campaigning for Spamberger. You know, he's out there. He's out there campaigning away for Spanberger. By the way, I did find the image that I was talking about. This is a different event. And this is a different event that Spanberger was at. And here's the, see these people in the background? Same people, different night, same people though, and they're just as bored. Look how excited these people are. These are so excited. Virginia Votes, this is another one of the Virginia Votes campaigns, the same group that is going around doing this. But this is 2 nights ago. And this is the same people in the background as they were in the one with Pete Buttigieg talking. And they look just as bored here as they do in the one with Mayor Pete was talking. So I don't know. I don't think they're paying them enough. Like they've got to get more money involved or something because they're just not exciting people. Have we seen any Obama clips yet? I assume there's got to be Obama clips at some point, which maybe we'll get another one of him telling all of us how horrible we are and that we're all just racist because we won't vote for Spanberger. Like that'll be very entertaining.
He's had some appearances and it's all bad. Much similar to leading up to the Kamala Harris election, where he stood in that office in Chicago. And he looked at a bunch of black men and he said, you guys are shameful. You guys are not representative of your communities. You guys need to get out and fight, blah, 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 blah. And yet he scolded them essentially for not being more democratic. And that's what created, in my opinion, the group called Flip Chicago Red. But he has been out recently. He's been doing some podcasts, and it's not gone well for him. No one actually cares about Obama. And here's my question, Walt. I believed for so long that he was nothing more than kind of like a reaction by like the Democrats and Republicans and disaffected liberals. He was, from what I thought, a reaction to those kind of things and to those kind of behaviors. Was he the most astroturf person in reality, even when he lost favor with Democrats and Republicans? Sorry, I had the hiccups. Was he the most astroturf person in the world? Because I got to tell you, I've never seen his influence outside of his 2 terms that he got grifted into. I've never seen his influence. Was he actually the most astroturf person in our American history?
Listen to me. Personally, I think that he stole the 2012 election, actually. I don't think Obama won the 2012 election. I think they figured out how to use to cheat a bunch in the votes for that. But that's a personal opinion and based on speculation. And I don't know. I don't think Obama was popular. I think he had the chance to actually do something. I think he really did. I think he had the chance to actually make a major difference and, be the first actual black president and then do something with that, but he didn't. He didn't do that. He decided to play directly into the super hardcore radical base. He decided to create the coalition of the oppressed, and the coalition of the oppressed resulted in them losing thousands of statewide legislator seats across the countries. If you go look across the country, go look at the state seats, and now go watch and see what happened during Obama's 2 terms. They lost almost every state legislator in the country during Obama's term. Okay, that doesn't happen for a popular president. Okay, and this guy, the funny part is that President Trump's approval ratings are actually higher now than Obama was in his first term. So, and Trump is the least astroturfed president in history. He's got the most negative press out of any person in history. And he's still more popular than Obama was. So, yes, I actually agree with you. I think Obama was one of the most astroturfed people in history. I think he was a charlatan. I think he was a joke. And I think that his entire legacy has been burned to the ashes, and it deserved to be so. Now he's out here screaming into the wind because he's watching his entire legacy of lies be torn down all around him, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. But I'm enjoying every minute of it personally. So I don't really care that Obama's not happy. I think it's a good thing when Obama's unhappy. I see him out here screaming about Prop 50. I see him coming out here trying to support Spanberger. I think that he knows his power structure has been decimated and that his useless, worthless legacy that will never be remembered as anything more than a moment and blip in history where nothing happened except increase the racial tension in the United States back 50 years from where he was when he started into his presidency. That's what I think Obama will be remembered for. Oh, and raising your healthcare costs by 2,000%. Those are the 2 things that people remember Obama for. But outside of that, no, I agree with you. I think he was one of the most astroturf people in history. And guys, now we're going to move on to the last end of the show. So you guys want to come up here and join us? We have Paul up here on stage. What's up, Paul?
Oh, I just want to let you know, I think I was watching Jesse earlier before I started listening on the space, and they had Obama talking, and it was amazing. He said that the problem that people had with Spamberger was because she was a woman.
Yes.
I guess he doesn't realize Winsome Sears is a woman.
Yes, we talked about that earlier, and that clip
did
is.
you talk about that? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I actually didn't play the clip yet because this was pretty damn funny. I mean, this is such a clueless comment from them. I love that they brought it up. That they're like, oh my goodness, don't you see? Like, I mean, it's. Like, I think Winsome actually had a perfect response to it. She's like, who wants to tell them? Like, I mean, just like, who wants to tell them? Does anybody want to inform them that there's actually 2 women running for this race? But what they're actually doing in that clip, and I'll see if I can find it and play it real quick. Here it is. Here. Yeah. So this was this morning. And this is them talking about this race. But what they're really doing in here is they're saying, well, you know, they're not doing that great. Well, except for the fact that, but, you know, Spamberger's doing a lot better than Cheryl is. And it's like, well, if that's the case, then we're winning both these races, by the way. So I'll go ahead and play this real quick here just so people understand what we're talking about.
It really is incredible when you have Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, her background, all the different jobs that she has held in the military, and also like Alyssa Slotkin. Yeah. I mean, my God, these women are incredible, and to them I would say fight, because we need them.
Yeah,
we need them. And leading.
And Mikey is like, she's doing a ton of interview. You know, when I talked to that, when I was in the car, you know, it was this car, she had gone from interview to interview to talk to, but you know, you still see the anxiety.
Yeah, Cheryl did have a few missteps in her campaign, but she still has, as you say, about a 5 or 6 point lead per polling. Spanberger's lead in Virginia a little bigger than that, but you know, both still competitive races here heading into the last couple of weeks. But to Mika, to Molly's point, I mean, this is something that a lot of Democrats are grappling with right now. Is they've nominated women 2 of the last 3 elections for the presidency, lost both. There are some who say, well, we can't do that again. The stakes are too high. But of course, that does fall into the same misogynistic trap.
Other countries have no problem electing women.
There you go. So no other countries have no problem electing women. And it's like, here's the one thing I will say. I have no problem voting for a woman if she's the greatest person for the job. But when you put out people like Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton, or I don't know, is there a single left-wing politician that is like not, that has the ability to speak that's a woman? I mean, is there any of them? I mean, I can't think of any of them. I think there's lots of Republican women that are actually, you know, they can speak and actually hold a conversation and actually be intelligent. But most of the left-wing women are people like AOC or Jasmine Crockett or Abigail Spanberger or Kamala Harris, where they word salad. I won't answer any questions. How dare you ask me questions? How dare you? I mean, just like, I mean, these are the people that they nominate, and they're like, well, why are they losing? Like, well, you know, maybe put up someone that has the ability to actually, you know, speak. That helps. You know, normally when you're in politics, you have to be able to talk. Like, that's part of the job. Part of the job description is being able to speak properly. So that's the clip that you were talking about, Paul. And yes, I did find it very funny. Other countries have no problem electing women. We just have such a problem with it here. You're running 2 women in the same race, you idiots. Like, I mean, it's just like, oh man, they're hopeless, man. They really are. They're really completely hopeless. It's hysterical to me.
I swear I saw Obama. I'm trying to search for this clip. I don't want to say anything on a recorded space that isn't true, but I swear I saw him saying it, Obama, on TV. But I will search for it and see if I can find it.
See, what exactly is the clip that you're looking for? I missed the last that you said there.
It is Obama stating that the problem people have with Spanberger is that she was female.
Oh, really?
And I've got to find that. I've got to find that. It was him. I remember him saying it, and I remember there was a comment. I mean, his voice and his face. But I'm searching right now to see if I can find it.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to have that clip. If you can find that, please send that to me immediately, because that's hysterical. Anything with Obama claiming that it's women that's the real reason that Spanberger is having such difficulty. It's not the fact that she endorses the guy that that literally says he wants his political opponents to die in their arms of their mothers, like their kids to die in their mother's arms. Like, And by the way, I do love that Spanberger has trotted out the abortion stuff. And this is something that I've been thinking about here. So, they're talking about the abortion stuff again because they think that plays well for them. But I think there's an easy counter to that. And, we can play on the two counters, right? So we've got two different things. The Fairfax story is one that's obvious, right? So you've got the parental notification, which is a huge problem for them. And they know that it's a huge problem for them, which is why they're attacking the whistleblower, which, by the way, they suspended that whistleblower. If you guys are in WCDispatch.com and you saw the interview that I released Monday, they suspended her that evening. But then further than that, now they've actually removed her from all sorts of different stuff. They've taken all of her access and everything. So they're continuing to retaliate against her. But the deal is that there's another way that they can counter the abortion messaging, and it's very simple. It's that the Democrats don't just want abortion; they want live babies to be dead in the arms of the mothers, and I think that's an easy response to it. You have to remember Ralph Northam was the one that said, if you don't want the child after it's born, then they'll have the baby there and they'll decide afterwards, after the baby's been born, whether or not that if you want the abortion or not. So if you want to kill the live baby or not, then we'll decide then. That was Ralph Northam that said that. So, these are the Democrats, okay? That's the way to respond to these people when they talk about their abortion messaging. It's like, you guys are just a death cult. You're just a death cult, and you want children to die in their mother's arms. That's what you want. So feel free to talk about abortion all you want, because it doesn't really play well for you guys right now. Well, all right, guys. Unless anybody else wants to come up here and join us on stage, we are over 2 hours now. So if we want to shut down for the evening, I think that's it. But if you guys want to come up here and join us, if not, I think we're going to close down for the evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Guys, this has been the Political Theater, weeknights at 9. This has been hour 2, and we went over a little bit here as we had a couple people come up here and join us on stage. If you guys want to join us at any point in the future, make sure you guys join us on X, and you have to go to X and follow us on @TrashDiscourse, or find the Political Theater account, which is @TPT 2025. But we will be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for more of the Political Theater. By the way, a quick announcement before we move on here. Friday, I will be flying down to Alabama, so I will not be on the show. We will not have the show Friday night, unless Trash probably open up a space anyway and just have it open, so that way we keep the time slot going. But I will not be here. I'll be traveling on Friday. And then the next time that the show will be canceled will be on the November 4th, because that'll be the Virginia election, and I will be down in Virginia. So I will be in Virginia for the election. But make sure you guys follow all the accounts. Make sure you guys subscribe to the WC Dispatch. Make sure you guys subscribe to both myself and Trash. If you want to support us, the best way you can do so is you can go directly to our profiles, and you could subscribe to us there. That's the best way you can help us out. And make sure you guys go check out The Wellness Company and go use to twc.health/TPT. That's the referral link for this show. If you use TPT at checkout, you get 10% off on your entire order. There's plenty of different products you can find on there. I've kind of been putting them up on screen. There's actually a really cool feature within the Restream thing here. I can just put products up on the page, so I just kind of flash them throughout it. And if you guys use the code at the checkout, that gives you 10% off on your entire order. So make sure you guys check that stuff out. And we'll be back tomorrow night for more of the Political Theater. Thank you guys for joining us this evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks, guys.
Some folks are born with a liberty spark, their hearts beat red, white, and blue. When the anchors sneer and the cameras bark, they turn the lens right back at you. Truth bound, ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not the party line sons, no, we ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so... Some folks inherit silk-lined halls, spend our sweat while preaching share. But when the tax man wraps his knuckles raw, their mansions suddenly look bare, impaired. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're not their banker-raised hares, no. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. We're the vigilant ones, so... Yeah, some paint stars on press room lies and send the common men to toil. Ask them, how much truth will you trade tonight? They mutter, more noise, more noise, more noise. Ain't for sale, ain't for sale. not the theater's pawn's friend. It ain't for sale, we're America's steadfast one. No, we won't be spun.